What is up, RotoGrinders? We're back. Dean here. Dean at 78904. You want to get all technical? It is Wednesday, the day for humping. The first ever trio for baseball, I believe. It's myself, Bobby Gomes, one of the hottest DFS players on the planet, as well as Keith Eister, Eister's Big Fleisters on layaway. We'll see, maybe. We're still kind of working on that. We were saying pre-show, Keith, this is the first time this iteration's ever gone down from a baseball perspective. We'll be excited. We're sitting in the bar today, the three of us.
Yeah, you, me, and Bobby, I believe, did some basketball shows together. But first baseball show, nice to jump on with, like you said, one of the hottest players in the world right now. Congrats to Bobby on this recent run here.
Bobby, on fire. We got to catch some, a little bit of run good, a little bit of good mojo.
And now he's muted.
Show with you. Oh, well,
He's trying to jump in, I think.
Uh-oh. I see his lips moving. He's saying,
Oh, no, I'm here. I was on mute for some reason.
Yeah. You haven't won a GPP in the last couple of days. What's going on, man? You're slipping, or are we going to be okay?
No, I had Marlins stacks last night, and I couldn't get over the hump because I didn't play JD with him. I played the wrong Dodgers. So I was close, but no cigar,
Yeah, that's how that goes down. Dodgers, once again, we're running it back. They're still in Coors Field. A little bit of a tougher matchup from a pitching perspective, and it's a lefty as opposed to a righty, so probably a little bit more enhanced chances of getting some pinch hitters. Maybe a guy like Hayward doesn't start, or a guy like Peralta or Outman, depending on maybe some players get the hook. I think DeLuca, we're projecting him to start, but they tend to not let him hit against righties a whole bunch. But yeah, he's super cheap, so it's kind of sort of baked in. Obviously, if he gets a homer's first at bat, who really cares? Keith, your thoughts as far as the slate today? It's similar to yesterday, a couple less games, 13 as opposed to 15. And my thought is, I loved a whole bunch of pitchers yesterday. I like some. It's like there's a bunch of guys I'm willing the roster, but nobody I'm totally falling over myself the roster as far as pitcher. There's one of 8 or 9 or 10 guys I'd consider. Is that kind of the way you see it as well?
Yeah, that's exactly the way I see it. Very similar to yesterday. A ton of games. We have the Dodgers as the offense that's very clearly on top by themselves, a tier above everyone else, if you will. And then the main difference from yesterday is the pitching is just not as strong. We had Ohtani and Gausman both in great spots yesterday. And today we get guys like Blake Snell struggling, or been incredible recently, but has been very inconsistent throughout his career, always capable of a blowout. Aaron Nola, who has been a little bit underwhelming this season. Pitching is definitely weaker. I think that's the main difference I see from yesterday to today, but very similar slates overall.
Although he did just get a Dodger lineup. Dave Roberts' his ears were ringing. We were talking about him. Betts, Freeman, Smith is doing the catching. JD Martinez. Vargas, who's been benched the last 2 games, is back. It feels like he was on double secret probation or something like that. But he's super, super cheap. Batting 5th. Rojas jumps up to the 6th spot. There's Outman, DeLuca, and Hernandez. Who's Hernandez? Should I know who Hernandez is? What's the first name? Hernandez? Yanni Hernandez. Okay.
Is he a prospect, Yanni Hernandez?
He's a journeyman, I believe. Let me look him up real quick. Washington rings a bell for some reason.
Yeah. That sounds yeah. If you're ever playing the Immaculate Grid and you have Dodgers and Washington, put in Yanni Hernandez and see if it works out for you.
Nope, I was wrong. He came up with Texas and spent some time with Arizona as well, but definitely not a prospect. He is 25 years old, so not the oldest, but he's been up and down for the last couple of years.
All right. Is he still minimum? What is he? Let's see. We got him. I
would imagine he's 2K.
3K on DK, 2.5 on Fanduel, $7 on Yahoo is what I'm seeing. Okay. Interesting. Yes. And there's a couple of lefties that are sitting. There's no Hayward and no Peralta. And I guess Austin Barnes doesn't really count. There's probably one other person I can't think of. But all right, just sort of noting that. What do we think of that lineup? First thoughts there, Keith, as far as the Dodgers?
I mean, we've got the studs still, but a little bit watered down there at the bottom. Yeah, I mean, Hang on, I'm pulling it. I wasn't exactly paying
That's what it is.
you read, so I'm trying to digest it here on the fly. I mean, the 4 studs up top, obviously. Nice to see Vargas back in there. Rojas hitting 6 is not something I'm excited about. I like DeLuca in there, though. Another nice value piece for us.
Muncie came back yesterday. He was dealing with, I want to say, a hamstring. He looked terrible. Whatever. Small sample size, but his at-bats are pretty rough. Struck out several times. Left on left against Freeland. They're giving him the day off immediately after coming back. So I would assume he's like fine and willing to, be a pinch hitter if the situation calls for it. But that's one of their power bats who's not there. Thoughts there as far as the Dodgers, Bobby? Just kind of worth pointing out because they do have a total above 7, the biggest total on the board by far. They are leading the conversation. One of the bigger decision points on the slate, what to do with the Dodgers. The Dodgers are out. How do we feel about them against Freeland?
Yeah, it's nice to see Vargas back in there. That late kind of scratch yesterday was unexpected, I would say. I thought he was going to be in there. He ended up not being in there. His plate IQ didn't look the greatest for whatever it was versus Seabolt. So Dodgers, we know they're kind of digging in the advanced stuff. So maybe that's why they sat him. DeLuca is going to be super chalk at 2,700. And Tim made a good point on the morning grind talking about how many bats is he likely going to see, right? I think this slate in general, we're trying to figure out it's very similar, like you guys said, to yesterday's slate, where you have the Dodgers. It's going to be about how you play them, right? Like no stack's going to be completely overowned because it's a 13-game slate, but the Dodgers are going to be the chalkiest, I would imagine. So yeah, it's just for me, if I want to play Dodgers 5-mans or Dodgers 3-mans, if I'm including DeLuca, how many at-bats is he going to get? I think their bullpen has a bunch of righties. So DeLuca would likely be getting pinched hit in that situation. So that's what I'm kind of looking at in terms of the Dodgers lineup. And then for the slate in general, Blake Snell all day. Like I feel like he was the guy that everyone was going to, and we're just seeing him drop consistently, whether it's in optimals or pretty much everything else. Like I don't think he's going to be the cash game QB. I mean, not QB, sorry, pitcher that we thought he was going to be earlier in the day. I think people are going to go other places, but yeah, it's interesting because we have a situation where Blake Snell is relatively chalky, but he's kind of, I think he's getting steamed down a little bit in terms of like how the industry is viewing him on the slate. And then we have not as good as pitching as yesterday, but we have guys that we can kind of go to below Snell and around Snell, and then around these pitchers that are basically secondary pitchers that might seem chalky for whatever reason.
Do want to say what's up to those hanging out in chats. Appreciate y'all joining us. It's 2+ hours nonstop Mlb Dfs conversation. TJ Zwarych warming up in the bullpen. I believe he would fit right in with that Colorado bullpen throwing from the right-hand side. There is one lefty. I think they have one lefty working, Bard or Bird. One of those two did play yesterday. I'm not sure if he's going to be available. Probably available today as well. There's one lefty working in that Colorado pen for what it's worth. But they almost definitely go righty, like you said. And it'll make for an interesting possible if that DeLuca character is like going to be really, really heavily owned, I think he's a super interesting fade. Certainly for we'll see where ownership kind of stuff shuffles out.
I looked up pinch hit risk while you guys were going through that.
25%?
19% for DeLuca per Derek Carty's the bat. 15% for Rojas, and Outman at 9%. Nobody else with anything significant.
Do you think that changes once the bat realizes that Muncie's on the bench?
I mean,
I don't know how it works. I
assume it's calculated off of the current lineup, and it's a confirmed lineup. So I think that's the accurate number right now. All
right. I mean, look, who am I to besmirch? But I would take 5-1 odds that this dude's getting pinch hit for. I would love to lock the odds in. I know goofy things happen. If you're up 10-1, who cares? Whatever. But I think there's a better than 15% chance we see a pinch hit. But we'll see. All right. Besides the Dodgers, let's talk about some pitching. Well, let's throw it to Bobby. You mentioned Blake Snell, 35 strikeouts, I believe, his last 3 games. The old Blake Snell rule, you're supposed to not play him unless other people are not playing him. You're supposed to play him when other people aren't. People are going to be playing him tonight. You're talking about his ownership getting pumped down. It's still looking like our most popular pitcher on this slate. And is he somebody that you're taking a stand on? Also, I like to ask at this point, like what What are we doing, Bobby? How many laps are you playing? We getting one main lineup. We running 150. We having a good time. What's the strategy, the plan of attack?
Yeah, I'm playing 12 teams tonight. I'll probably build 300 and then eye it out. I'm definitely playing Snell. I'm not full fading Snell. I do think you have to look at who's around Snell, though. Maybe I play him at the field in terms of my 300, and then wherever he comes out in terms of like how many I'm going to – if I pick him, I feel like if I play him, he'll probably just be at the field in terms of my 12 teams, or maybe I'll just be under the field. I don't think I'd completely fade. I'll have – a couple Snell teams, but just in his price range, right? Like Senga's 10-1 versus the Mets. Versus Milwaukee. 98 pitches for Senga the bat has. Like, I like Sanger in that spot. I like Mitch Keller at 9-9 in the same game as Snell. And I like Nola at 10-4. So there's guys around Snell that I think you can make the case to be underweight or on a fade if you're playing 3 max. I think you can get away from him. So that's kind of like my approach to what I'm doing with Snell. Definitely not going to be overweight. He's going to be built in, but how much I get to him, I would imagine with Senga, Mitch Keller, and Nola right around him, that I'll be going away from Snell. If I had to rank them, it'd probably be Mitch Keller, Senga, and then Nola. If I had to rank those 3 in like the higher end there.
You say you make 300, and out of those 300, you kind of scroll through them and pick your 12 favorites. Is that what you do?
Yeah.
Interesting. How long of a process is that? Like, as far as like you're sort of like, it's like a maybe pile. You just check them and just keep whittling down, like, and there's first cuts and second cuts and third cuts. That's interesting how you do that. I've never tried that before, but I like the idea.
I'm just early. I'm like so I start earlier in the day. Like, I'll start when I wake up at 7 a.m. and kind of go in a plate IQ, go in all this, just basically all the advanced stuff, and then like make sure I'm ready to. I think efficiency in your process is probably the biggest thing in DFS, like being able to like get there quickly. Today with plate IQ down for a little bit, it was pretty difficult trying to get through there. I don't know if it was down for you guys, but it was down for me. Well, not down the pitching metrics. Like, I couldn't get a fastball sinker like pitch types and usage. That's stuff I usually kind of lean on.
You dig that deep for that thing? I never really know what to do with that stuff because I always feel like the samples aren't big enough. Like, this team is bad against sinkers. It's like, really, is that actionable, Keith? I don't know. Maybe it is, and I'm just missing out. But you can dig all day looking for like one pitch is what you're looking for. It's so crazy. But
I mean, it depends on the sample size, obviously, and I don't know what the right sample size is. I do think it's interesting to look at, but obviously there can be some small sample variance mixed in there for sure.
Yeah, Bobby, has there been something there you kind of uncovered and like it sort of maybe confirmed something you already thought, or something you sort of looked at and said, "Oh wow, I never even thought of this," but now I'm going to work this angle, and then like you applied it, and somehow $100,000 later, $50,000 later.
I just think I've always I like to dig into like baseball stuff. You know, I've since I was like a young kid, I've really been fascinated by MLB stats and MLB lineups, averages. So I don't mind digging in. I think there's edges in everything. Like, if you do the work and you find something you like, there's definitely edges.
Yeah, I don't think going there for hours. And I just don't know what I think it's really interesting, if nothing else, like you said. And like, I don't know how to apply it necessarily. And I don't know if you should be applying it, if it's like based upon 12 bats or 20 bats or whatever it is.
Dean, the people are complaining about your mic. There's some crackling coming through.
TJ said unplug and replug.
Okay. My apologies. You know, my laptop is running slow. Should I jump out and jump back in? Is that what we should do? Maybe we'll try that. I'll jump right back in.
Is he leaving us out to dry here?
He's going to come back. It's still going to be bad. He's got too many programs open. So you guys can continue without him for a moment while we work on that.
I can give some pitching thoughts here real quick while Dean is out. Definitely agree that Snell's at the top of the board today. Good matchup against Pittsburgh, but not the greatest matchup for me. He's been incredible. We know he always has that walk risk, though. So I agree, as the highest owned pitcher on the slate, I don't mind being a little bit underweight there. Nola has not quite been himself this season, but I do like this matchup against the Cubs. A little bit of wind blowing in should help him. He does have a couple of big spike strikeout games as well, which is what I'm really chasing here. The Cubs strike out a fair amount. So I will be overweight on Nola. It gets pretty dicey from there for me. I think Mitch Keller is my favorite, like lower owned guy that I'm going to. Very tough matchup against San Diego. They don't strike out a ton either. But Mitch Keller has shown flashes of taking a step forward this year. So very interested there. I'll save some money with JP Sears in what I think is a pretty watered down Yankees lineup. Obviously still no Judge there. Great ballpark out in Oakland. Should help him with the home run problem that he has. Strikeout rate is right around league average. So JP Sears, my favorite way to save a little bit of money. And then Logan Webb is a guy I've played quite a bit this season. Just a really good pitcher. Another guy in a very tough matchup. But I'll get to some Webb, I believe.
It's interesting that you'd play Webb. I want to play Webb too. I just don't know if the upside's there at 10-6 currently. I love Webb as a real life pitcher. Just don't know with the K rate, that lineup in general. If there's someone I want to attack Toronto. Dean's back. Dean, welcome.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt. Should I do a mic check? How do I sound? Or no?
Oh,
Really?
he said you have to turn some of your programs off. Whatever you get on.
I did. Now I feel like if I explain myself, it's just going to be more and more annoying. So maybe, all right, let me just try for take two. You guys can hold it down, and I'll jump back in as fast as I can.
Check your messages in Slack, Dean.
All right, my apologies.
Yeah, we just got a question about Javier in the chat. I want to address that real quick just because he's somebody that I dug into pretty deeply here today. His velocity is down. The spin rate on his slider is down. And the whiff rate on his slider is way down. So this is not quite the same pitcher that we saw last season. The whiff rate on his slider sitting around 30%. It was up around 38% last season. With his profile, if he's not missing bats, he's a guy I feel like you can attack. St. Louis has a ton of power in that lineup. I definitely prefer lefties against Javier. So Nolan Gorman is somebody I absolutely love today. I'm on the righties for St. Louis as well, just because Javier and his fly ball profile, I feel like, is attackable with this St. Louis lineup with the struggles he's had. Now, obviously, if he sees the uptick in stuff and the velocity comes up another mile or two back to where it was last season when he had a strikeout rate around 30%, yes, he could put up that ceiling game even in a tough matchup like St. Louis. But for me, I'm more on the St. Louis bats. Did you have a thought on Javier at all, Bobby?
I kind of feel similarly to you. Like, I like Gorman. I like Carlson. I like the St. Louis bats a lot more than I like Javier. Like Goldschmidt a little bit. But for me, it's like, I hate playing in it. I don't know if this is just recency bias from years past, but I know it's kind of not been as bad. But hitters in St. Louis just never do it for me. For whatever reason, that ballpark, it's not something I want to attack. I know that's changed this year a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know how much of the St. Louis stack I'm going to get to, but I do think those guys are fine as one-off, especially Gorman, 4.6. Like him a good bit. Carlson's down there at 2.6K, so I don't hate those guys.
Good stuff. All right, another question in here. Logan Allen has been much better this season. That is true. His strikeout rate is up quite a bit from last year. Gets a matchup against Kansas City. I played a ton of Gavin Williams yesterday. That worked out really well.
Yeah.
But Kansas City has been much better against lefties than they have against righties. Obviously, yesterday there was no Sal Perez in the lineup. He's back today. How about Logan Allen? Are you interested in going there today?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just want to pull up that price range for pitcher in general, just because I want to see, like Logan Allen. I playing Gavin yesterday, I think definitely worked out. It was a really good play. For me, in that price range, Logan Allen's 8K, like Domingo's there. The guy I find pretty interesting. So Domingo hasn't been great, obviously, since the sticky stuff. Allen versus KC, like obviously KC at home, they're pesky, you know. I don't hate going up to Braxton Garrett at 8.7 versus the Sox. I think it was Kirkwood yesterday who basically called Alcantara having a good game there versus the Red Sox. I know the Red Sox don't strike out a ton, but Braxton Garrett, like if this game's in Miami, he's like $1,000 too cheap. He has the best strikeout stuff on the slate at 8.7. So he's someone I'm interested in. In terms of Allen and Domingo, like they'll make my pool how much I get of them. I'm unsure. Like I don't want to attack Oakland. Their offense is another offense that isn't the greatest, but they have guys there that they've been playing pretty well, and they're priced affordably. So I don't really want to get to too much Domingo, even though the strikeout rate's always high for Domingo. But he's just been I just want to see how he comes around after like the whole sticky stuff allegations. Then Logan Allen, I feel like I would prefer him to Domingo German versus KC. But you made a good point. Like no Sal Perez yesterday. Lefties versus KC, you don't want to play too much. So I don't know. For me in that range, it'd probably be Braxton Garrett as my favorite, then Allen, then German.
Yeah, similar thoughts there. Like I'm not real interested in like Herman's picking up some ownership. We're showing 18% as of my last refresh here of what I'm showing in lineup HQ. He's been absolutely destroyed his last two matchups, and I know those were a lot tougher than getting Oakland in Oakland, but I do still feel like there's some risk, and I also feel like the upside is a little bit capped here. Oakland does strike out a ton. It's a great matchup. I'm not quite sure that Herman is right at this point. So if he's picking up ownership, I too am looking for a pivot in this range. If I am just picking a cheap pitcher, Sears is my favorite, and I know he's getting a little bit of ownership too. I would rather just save the money and go down to Sears. If I'm playing a chalky stack like the Dodgers or something, and I need to differentiate a little bit more, Logan Allen and Braxton Garrett, two guys that I think you can play in this range. I also prefer finding the money to get up to Garrett. Really tough ballpark in Boston, obviously great hitters park, but Garrett throws from the left side. Boston is extremely left-handed heavy, which just kind of boosts his matchup here today. So
the bat only has Garrett for 78 pitches, which is kind of worrisome. Is that something that we usually see? Maybe that's incorrect.
That feels a little bit light. I know the bat definitely accounts for environment, and so him being in Fenway Park, I think, is definitely affecting that. I am pulling up his recent games now. He has been, he's been in like the 80 to 90 range most days, 88 and 90 his last two times out, but only 83, 75, and 79 the three times before that. So I do think leash is a bit of concern. It's the strikeout upside for me. And you mentioned that Boston does not strike out a ton, but Garrett has a strikeout rate up around 29% this season. So he has the type of stuff that he can win even in a not great strikeout matchup. We're not getting a discount. I would say he's probably appropriately priced for this matchup. Being in Fenway Park is not the easiest of assignments.
There are some guys like Duvall has a 33% K rate, Arroyo 35%, Wong 35%, David Hamilton, he's down at the bottom there. So there are places where he can kind of get strikeouts in this lineup. But yeah, they're probably outside of that, like they're a very low strikeout team. Just in general, the pitch count on Garrett, I didn't really realize the 78. That's a little worrisome for me. Drew Smiley down at 7.4. I definitely, with the wind blowing in, like we seen it last night with Ranger Suarez, I think you can make a case. What are your thoughts on Drew Smiley? Do you have any interest there?
Yeah, a slight interest. I would say if I'm trying to pivot away from Sears, he's in play. Even as a pivot down from Herman, he's just a guy that's so inconsistent. He has a home run problem, so the wind blowing in does help him a little bit there. We saw Tyon give up a couple of homers yesterday, even with the wind blowing in, and it was blowing in a little harder even yesterday. So still concerned about the power from the Phillies. Not a great matchup, but none of these guys that we're discussing down in this range are all that great. I think you're strictly considering these guys for SP2 on DraftKings. I don't even know that guys like Herman, Smiley, even Sears is questionable to be in the conversation over on FanDuel, where we only get one of these guys.
Yeah, Sears 23% K rate, whereas this Yankees team has a 28% K rate currently on the road. And this is a bad Yankees ball club right now currently, so I definitely like the Sears call at 7-1. I have interest there for sure. Then Dane Dunning, I would imagine is going to gain he's hitting the bats optimal. So right now it's German and Dane Dunning. I would not play those two together with the Dodgers stack. It'd definitely be at most one would be a rule that I'd try to be making in tournaments between those two. And if your optimizer allows, basically making grouping, getting two of them away from too many Dodgers or 5-man Dodger stacks. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on Dane Dunning?
Yeah, he's similar to the Herman play for me as the guy who's going to be picking up a little bit of ownership in this range. So the three cheapies I would say that most everyone is going to look to are Herman, Sears, and Dunning. I definitely prefer Sears out of those three. Don Yeezy in the chat commenting on Sears' extreme hitters umpire. That is true as well, and not great for a guy who can sometimes struggle with his control. I'm not concerned about that. That's more of a tiebreaker for me, and I have Sears clearly ahead of Herman and Dunning. So despite the tough break of the extreme hitters umpire, I still prefer Sears over Herman and Dunning. With Dunning, I think he's a very good real life pitcher. He's good at keeping the ball on the ground. He doesn't allow home runs, but he also has a strikeout rate below 15%. You do get a little bit of savings by going down to Dunning. I'm just really concerned about the strikeouts. Detroit has not struck out near as much this season as they did last year against righties. So it's an upside thing for me with Dunning. I want to find that 1,000 to get up to Sears for me.
Yeah, that K rate for Dunning is super low. 14% for Dunning currently. This Tigers team is definitely better now than they were at the beginning of the season. So if you're making if you want to get off these chalk pitchers, whether it's Herman or Dunning, higher stake stuff, I would imagine these guys are going to be pretty highly owned. There are definitely pivots. Well, any thoughts on Wade Miley? What are the Mets have this thing where they can just completely fold. Not that I want to play Wade Miley or think he's good, but he's 6'9", pitch count. We have him around 92 pitches. The Mets in general, for whatever reason, they're just bad. The offense has been better of late, but there are games when they just kind of completely go away. So, any thoughts on Miley at all?
Kind of a similar conversation to the Dunning thing. If you're playing 150, I think he's definitely in your pool. Another good real life pitcher who keeps the ball on the ground. The Mets are not as strong against lefties. He gets a huge ballpark upgrade going into Citi Field. But another guy who just is not missing any bats this year. 14.8% is his strikeout rate this year. As a pivot away from Dunning, I don't mind that. I think he could outscore him. But with Sears sitting right in that same range, unless Sears gives up 4 or 5 runs, I think Sears is pretty clearly the guy that's going to score the most points there.
I like the K rate with Sears too. It seems like this Yankees team is just abysmal currently. So I definitely think getting to Sears if Dunning is going to be chalkier just because he's 1,000 less, I think makes a good bit of sense. Currently, we're not showing that, but I would imagine based on how people utilize the bat projections and higher stake stuff, Dunning's going to garner some pretty good ownership. Now it's just one. I know this is a little bit. So Michael Grove, are we at 5-3 versus Colorado? Pitchers ump in Colorado. I'm not usually playing pitchers in Coors for those reasons, but he is cheap. We do know that he's likely going to get the win in this scenario, or just Vegas is implying that he's going to get the win. Anything can happen, obviously. But would you have any interest in Michael Grove?
I'm not going there today. Just being in Coors, Colorado is a very weak offense, but they're different in Coors compared to on the road. Yeah. If it was away from Coors, maybe I would consider him, but I don't think I can do it today in Coors.
Yeah. No, it feels similarly. Dino, what's up, bud? Nice to get you back.
Mic check. Tell me I sound okay. Do I sound decent? I did a full reset.
You might be in trouble.
A small crackle, but we did it better than it was.
Well,
I think you're okay now.
Yeah, do I sound okay right now? Chat, let me know if I sound all right.
No, you're good.
I don't know what's going on. Okay, what did I miss? Can you guys repeat everything I missed?
We just went over pitching. We didn't do any rankings or stuff. We were just basically talking about pivots off of chalk and different ranges.
Who's the pitcher that he's most likely going to be in your biggest contest, Bobby? Really, really good chance. I know you probably unofficially locked your lineups in, but the one pitcher that you want in your highest contest, the 888. Is 888 or 777 today? I'm not sure which one it is, but is there one pitcher for sure that's going to be in that lineup?
I'm probably going to be playing a good bit of Keller, I would imagine. I feel like if people are going to go to Snell, I'm just going to play Keller. He's probably my favorite.
I assume we talked about Snell, 35 strikeouts in his last 3, at least 12 Ks and 3 in a row. I think maybe it's 11, 12, whatever it is. He's been dominant his last 3 starts. Even more than that, he's been really, really solid. Pittsburgh, they're patient, which is kind of an issue. Keith, what's your official take with Snell? I think it would be easier to fade yesterday. Just I think the pool of guys that can beat him are stronger. Certainly, Nola can beat him, and I think Sears is an interesting cheapie. Senga on the right day, but he's usually volatile, obviously. What's your official stance as far as Nola, Keith?
Snell or Nola or both? I can give you both
give me
because
both.
they're correlated.
I
feel like I'm going underweight on Snell. Just a guy that can get blown up often, can walk too many guys and have short outings. I know his strikeout rate is amazing, but I see a path for him failing more often than Nola, I guess. And I know Nola hasn't been quite the same pitcher this year, but I really like the matchup against the Cubs. The Cubs strike out a fair amount. Nola has had a couple of like 10, 12 strikeout games this season, so he can post that spike strikeout game. So I will be overweight on Nola, underweight on Snell. A little bit of wind blowing in there at Wrigley, helping Snell out a little bit, helping Nola out rather as well.
This is DFS. We care about today and today only. But shout out to me, and you tell me if you thought about the similar process. Your Cubbies, a little bit of jet lag. I had a little bit of jet lag for him yesterday, flying back and forth, to London over the weekend. And Ranger Suarez has been pretty sneaky. So he was the guy that got me across the finish line yesterday. It certainly wasn't. Well, I had a nice little Texas stack too. Did nothing fancy, nothing a lot of fun, but we did cash. It was a profitable day. Are we back now? Are the Cubs back on normal time? Or how many days does it take for them to be, adjusted? It has to mess with you a little bit, right? I think so.
I think it definitely has to mess with you. It's just a super long flight. Stevie and I talked about it a little bit on the morning grind yesterday as well. Like it has to factor in. Like these guys are human after all. I don't know what the adjustment period is. It's not factoring into my decisions today. It's just I like the way that Nola sets up against this Cubs team. I think the Cubs set up very well against lefties, which even yesterday Suarez mowed them down. But against righties, they strike out even more. It's a really good matchup for Nola.
Anything else we need to stress? I don't want to repeat what you guys just talked about. If I missed it, no worries. So
we actually didn't hit on Barria and Giolito. I think they're Barria had 23 starts ago. 3 starts ago, Barria had 22 points versus White Sox team. He's down at 6'9", I'm pretty sure, in terms of price tag. Is that where he's at, Dean? I think so.
6'8".
I'll be honest, Barria's not somebody that I've kind of honed in on today. I just generally never play him. But I'm willing to listen if you want to sell me Barria. Go for it. He's 6'8", I'm seeing.
He's 6'8". No, I was just basically bringing him up. For me, hold on one sec. K rate for some of these White Sox, 38% for Berger, 34% for Luis Robert, 29% for Eloy Jimenez, 25% for Vaughn. Barria has a 21% K rate, so I think that you can consider him in larger field stuff. And then Giolito on the other side, like obviously we're worried about Trout and Ohtani. They have good BVP versus Giolito. But these other guys, like all year, it's pretty much been the same thing. Like I'm not worried about the back half of this Angels lineup at all. Mickey Moniak, he's been great. 34% strikeout rate at home versus lefties. Versus righties. So there are guys in here. Matt Tice, they have pretty high strikeout rates. If you want to go
not in the lineup, by the way. I'm not sure if you saw the official lineup came out. Ward, Ohtani, Trout, Moustakas, and just to the point that how bad this lineup is, they got Moustakas off the scrap heap. The Rockies threw him away, I believe, was the last team to get rid of him. Yep. And instantly, you're a cleanup hitter on our team. Welcome to the Angels.
The Angels have been doing this for years. Like Pujols is batting cleanup way past his prime. They are very good at just picking anybody up off the street and plugging them into the cleanup hole.
Yeah, they have there's no qualifications. Anybody can apply. Moustakas, Drury, Theis, Renfroe. Isn't Renfroe a better hitter than like all those guys? Or at least
I would imagine so. Like I don't know how he ends up in the 7 hole. It doesn't make any sense, but
yeah,
whatever they're trying to do.
Versus Flitzy too. That's just kind of strange. And Escobar, another guy they picked up. batting 8th, and then Fletcher, who just came back, right? Man, it's so disappointing what they're doing with just wasting the good years of Ohtani and Trout. I was thinking about it last night, like how awesome would it have been to like a double stack Ohtani pitcher, Ohtani hitter, like taking down a tournament, like because we can't do this. It's 2023. We can go to Mars.
The things this guy's doing are just amazing, man. We just cannot say enough good things about him. It is like nothing ever seen before, obviously.
He got the quick hook. Like he had a trainer come out and was like, "Oh, what happened to Ohtani? Is he hurt?" And like, "Oh no, it turns out it was just like a fingernail or I think it was a fingernail." And like that's the what he was also at the end anyway. He was about 100 pitches or so. And like I was nervous because like they're saying, "Oh, he was removed." Didn't say he left. Like he was removed, implying he was like injured. And then he stayed in the game to hit another home run just because he's the greatest baseball player of all time. It's completely outrageous. But yeah, I'm just tilting that we can't play him as a hitter on the days he pitches because I don't know.
You would only be able to play him one or the other, right? Like pitcher or hitter. You couldn't play him at both positions.
Why? Why limit us, Bob? Why can't we? Why can't we do both? Like why? Ohtani H, Ohtani B. There you go.
Right? Can't we just create two players for it?
No, but what I'm saying is
so
within your construction, you'd only be able to play him at pitcher or hitter. Like you'd have the option, but you wouldn't be able to play him in both slots.
Why are you limiting us? Why can't we do that? Why are you making this rule?
Because I think that adds like if you're going to do that, I think the decision point's like pretty. It would make the game more interesting, right? Then everyone would just jam Ohtani every slate that he pitches and hits.
The Angels get to play him at both spots. We should be able to also.
This sounds like a Tim kind of take. Are you against fun? This is a fun idea.
I sometimes am against fun, to be perfectly honest, Dean.
You and Tim.
It would be one or the other for me. Yeah.
Like, 11K to pitch, 6K, 7K to hit, and there you go. We're on our way. You got to like also stack the A's or something cheap to make it work. But, we live in a world with salary cap as is. Any other pitchers that are worth stressing? I did see a question, Bobby, it's relevant to what you were saying before. Eric was asking Keller or Senga in the old Hoover and the vacuum. Who do you prefer as far as Keller versus Senga? I didn't hear your Keller pitch.
I think
probably
both
ownership related.
Yeah, it's an ownership thing. I think both are definitely in play for me. Keller, 27% K rate. There's these guys in the Padres order down at the bottom, 29% strikeout rate for Grisham, 36 for Carpenter, 34 for Gary Sanchez on the road. Like I have interest in Keller for that reason. Think he's going to come in lower owned than Senga. I still like Senga. Like I'm playing Senga 28% K rate versus Brewers team that is absolutely can be pretty terrible in general. 26% K rate for the entire team. Just in terms of just like the team in general, the average. So I'm playing both of them, and they're right around Snell. Like this is why basically most projection sites are kind of going down on Snell as the day progresses.
Did you guys talk about Garrett? Several people in the chat are asking about Braxton Garrett. Tough spot there in Fenway, and big negative ballpark shift. And the tricky thing is this Boston lineup is pretty contact heavy, although they do have their swing and miss guys in there in Duvall and Arroyo and Wong. But still, collectively looking at 18.6%, but part of that is Hamilton 0%. Certainly, he's not a big hitter. I don't know if he's a contact guy, but he's got really no pop.
We did hit on Garrett. I really like Garrett. What worries me is this pitch count, and Keith probably went over it. Like we have him for 78 pitches with the bat, and
wow,
that's just
low.
That's low, right? I do like him though, and I do think that he's going to make my player pool. If I was building 150, he'd definitely be in my player pool. So yeah, and then Alcantara last night pitched well versus Sox. You have all their strikeout guys in, like you said, so I don't mind Garrett.
Well, I guess they don't have is Casas in there? I think they sent down the other guy. He came for one at bat, the old cup of coffee, and he's gone already. Dahlbeck. I think Dahlbeck already got sent back down.
Yeah, Casas not in there today.
Yeah, I guess you want Casas, some power, but plenty of strikeout ability.
But more strikeouts in this lineup than we've seen, especially with Duvall and Arroyo back. I mean, Connor Wong is in there as well. Those are three pretty high strikeout bats. I can see a path. We talked about Garrett's pretty nice K rate up around 29% this season as well. So don't love the ballpark, obviously. Slight concerns about the leash. I think he's got a little more leash than than what he's being projected for. Just it's a tough spot in Fenway is my biggest concern. I think he can get up around 85 pitches today, though.
Were you quoting the bat as far as pitch count? Because I'm seeing a little bit different. The RG plate IQ projections giving him 88 pitches for what it's worth. That's a medium projection.
Yep, 78 in the bat. And we looked at his last 5 games or so. He's been down as low as 75 and up as high as 94, I think it was.
Bobby, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, the 700 more off of German makes sense to get. If you think he's going to pitch in the 80s, mid 80s, getting away from German to get to Garrett, I think makes a ton of sense in tournaments.
Can I get an official German take? Because he's going to be reasonably popular just because he's a pitcher throwing baseballs against the A's in a good ballpark, but bad form of late. I don't really trust him. I don't think he's great. There's a non-zero chance he gets hit with sticky stuff once again for the third time, I suppose. I don't want to be over the field on him. Is basically where I'm at on that one, Keith, as far as German. Any strong take on it, or just sort of if you fall on it, so be it, but you're not seeking him out?
Yeah, I mean, Bobby and I both discussed being underweight on him. We were looking for pivots in that range. That's how the Braxton Garrett came up. I understand it's a great matchup against Oakland. Awesome ballpark. Should limit the home run damage. Oakland strikes out a ton, but he's been absolutely destroyed his last 2 starts. I know they were tougher matchups, but I'm with you. This is a guy who has clearly been trying to find an edge in the past with his sticky stuff problems. I don't think he's right. If he's getting any ownership at all, I am not interested.
All right. I feel like I'm repeating questions, so I apologize. I just wanted to make sure we covered everything. Trevor Richards, he's not throwing enough baseballs, right? Isn't he? He's limited today, correct?
He's been striking everybody out, but yeah, he's limited.
Yeah. I think he's got the biggest K rate on the slate, but it is, obviously a misleading. 35.8%, not a ton of innings.
And a lot of that was out of the bullpen this season also.
Yes. Yeah. So we're probably giving him, 55 pitches or so? I'm just guessing. Let's see. We can actually check, but I don't think it was enough to consider him for a roster spot.
That's giving him 62 pitches.
60 according to RG. So, I mean, if he's crazy efficient and he strikes out 6 or something like that, I suppose maybe the opportunity cost of pitcher is not as strong. And if you want to spend up for guys like Tatis or Betts and they go nuts, sure. I don't think I'm going there. Bobby, you think you're going to get there?
I don't think so currently.
Keith, you have a thought?
I think I would play him over Dane Dunning. Just because Dunning's getting ownership, and I could see Dunning scoring 15 points if everything goes right for him. But you need probably 6 innings and 4 or 5 Ks out of Dunning. His strikeout rate's under 15%. Richards could strike out 6 guys in 3 innings and match Dunning. Berea is the guy that we didn't talk about a ton until later on that I just want to jump on board with that. If I'm looking for the pivot off of Dunning, I think Berea is my favorite guy down in this range.
I like Berea too. It's interesting that you say that. And it was just coming up, as I was looking through.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Miley and Smiley. Berea he's been solid. I like the matchup against the White Sox. Not a guy I really had considered coming into the show, but after just looking at what's around him, I would play him over Dunning every time.
I assume you guys touched on this, and Kirkwood's asking about him. I just kind of circle back. The catalog. I'm assuming the catalog is JP Sears. He looks like one of the stronger players for me. This Yankee team is not your friend of 3 years ago's Yankee team. Not your friend of 2 months ago's Yankee team. It's a bad Yankee team that gets a massive negative ballpark shift as well. The absence of Judge and just overall that lineup is pretty unimposing. Some big names, but the stats are not that spectacular. The price is pretty good on Sears too. We've even seen a couple of games where his pitch count, which he's had pitch count concerns, but they've shot up as well. Did you guys cover Sears? Because I think he's one of my favorite pitchers and might be in my single entry team.
Yeah, he's clearly the best guy in this range. We were discussing pivots around him, but we both agreed he's the top play down here.
Okay, all right. So I'm not sneaking up on anybody with Sears. I didn't think so. Our projections, for what it's worth, we have consensus projections. Myself, Tim, Head Chopper, Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel Patrol, by the way, going to be on in a half hour with TJ, as well as Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Hit that like button so when TJ comes on, he'll have his Spidey Bombs ready to go. I'm not sure what the threshold is. He was lurking in chat before. I presume he's still hanging around somewhere, but I imagine he's got some Spidey bombs for the people. Give me a summary, Bobby, as far as pitchers, unless there's anything else pitcher-wise that we should mention. I feel like you kind of went back over it a couple times because I jumped out and jumped back in. But give me your summary.
Keller, Baria, Senga, Garrett, and Smiley, I think, are the guys that I'm going to be keying in on.
Give me this. The guy you're most over on, the guy you're most under on.
Guy I'm going to be most over on is Aaron Nola, and the guy I'm going to be most under on, Domingo Herman.
I like Nola too. I should throw Nola in there. I'm going to try to get.
All right, let's talk about stacks. Do load up your questions. We're happy to answer your questions in chat, whatever's in your mind. More details, the better. Let us know if you're playing on Draftkings, you're playing on Fanduel, if you're playing cash games, you're playing single entry, large field. All the details do help as far as answering the questions. You have a 2v2, you have a stack question, something we ignored for whatever reason, something you think we're wrong about. Tell us something. We want to be as interactive as possible. We do like when the chat participates. No surprise, myself, Napsterman, Tim, Tasteful Tides, Head Chopper, Squirrel Patrol. We did rank the Dodgers number 1 consensus-wise, Texas number 2, then Colorado, Baltimore, Tampa, Philly got a little bit of love, KC got a little bit of love, Cleveland a little bit of love as well. Keith, how do you feel about those rankings from a consensus perspective? Anything we should kick off, anything we should kick on, anything too high, anything too low? It's Dodgers, Texas, Colorado, Baltimore, Tampa, Philly, KC, and Cleveland.
Dodgers number 1 in a tier of their own, clearly. Agree with Texas at 2. I think I'm a little lower on Colorado. Grove is a decent pitcher, not great. Colorado is just not a great offense. So if they're picking up ownership, I can see myself being underweight on them. Definitely Baltimore and Tampa Bay on the board. And a team that nobody put on there that I am high on today is the St. Louis Cardinals.
Oh, talking about the Cardinals. You're a Cubs fan, so you're not, all bias aside, You're going to be touting the Cardinals today. I believe you might have talked about this, or maybe this is one of the things you're referencing without saying it just yet. I'll ask you. I think we have the fire emoji in St. Louis today from the old Weather Edge chief mineralogist, Kevin Roth. Give it a refresh. I saw it earlier today. This kind of stuff can change. It is fluid. Let's see. So wind blowing in Chicago. So pretty good pitching environment there. Yeah, fire emoji in St. Louis, 28 game sample. Not a lot of difference as far as home runs and runs in the 28 games, but 91 degrees, crosswind, 11 miles per hour. Does that play into effect? Christian Javier, pretty decent pitcher. He's not a gas can by any means, but like you said, he's the Cardinals are going to be sneaky for sure. Just the weather, is that at least part of it, Keith? Generally a ballpark that plays pretty fair. Sell me on the Cardinals.
The weather is part of it. I broke down Javier when we were talking about pitching. I broke down Javier quite a bit. His velocity is down almost 1.5 miles. His spin rate is down on his slider. He was generating about 38% whiffs on his slider last season. That's all the way down to 30% this year. So we're talking about a guy that relies on strikeouts who's not striking anybody out. His profile beyond the strikeouts is extreme fly ball. You have a ton of power in the St. Louis lineup. Gorman is probably my favorite hitter on the entire slate, outside of the Dodgers, obviously. But yeah, it's just chasing the Cardinals' power versus the fly balls of Javier, and he's elite when he's missing bats, but he has not been missing bats recently.
You said your favorite were who? Gorman and somebody else?
Gorman is my favorite. Javier doesn't strike out any lefties at all, but I would still go with Goldschmidt next as my favorite after Gorman, and then like Carlson, Donovan are fine. You can throw Arenado in there as well. It might be more of a 3-man for me, but I'm definitely going to have a ton of exposure to these St. Louis bats.
Are you a hot cold guy? Because I'm pretty sure Gorman is like really, really freezing. At some point, he should break out of it.
Well, he's my favorite hitter on the slate. So what do you think? No, I am not hot and cold. We can't predict when these things change. I know for over years of a sample size that Gorman has immense power. Javier does not strike out lefties. Gorman is in a fantastic spot today.
Yeah, he had a hit on the 12th, and after the 12th, the last time he got a hit was the 21st. and he had 2 hits in the 25th. He was benched for a while too. To be clear, I agree with you, but I was answering the question before the chat got to it because I'm sure the chat was going to be like, "Oh, he's cold, he stinks," Nolan Gorman. But yeah, so Bobby, the people want your sneaky stack, and again, I'll run them down once again, consensus wise. If you think like even 7th or 8th team should be bumped up, Dodgers, of course, obviously, Texas, Colorado, Baltimore, Tampa, Philly, KC, and Cleveland. What do we have here, Bobby? What's your read on those stacks as far as those rankings?
Yeah, Dodgers, like Keith said, just in a tear of their own. Then for me, it's Texas. Probably going down to Tampa Bay. I think people Tampa Bay might get lost in the shuffle because they're basically starting. They have the late start, so probably get their lineup a little later on. Maybe they get lost in the shuffle. I like the Tampa Bay guys. Cincy, Baltimore definitely make my list. That game starting off the slate. And then I'm going back to Miami. I had Miami 5-mans last night. I think Miami's in a pretty good spot. I think Chisholm's the type of guy that can really do damage in Fenway, in my opinion. I just feel like with the speed, and then he can go oppo. He can pretty much spray the ball wherever he wants. He can use the wall. So I like this Miami team pretty much. I think Soler goes deep tonight. So, yeah.
Yankees lineup just came out. LeMahieu leading off. Torres, Rizzo, Stanton, Bader, Donaldson with a little bit of revenge on his mind. IKF, Higashioka, and Volpe. That's what we're looking at as far as Fault is going to be pitching tomorrow for Arizona. All right, that's interesting. The prospect that got his face fully punched in several times during the year, he's coming back for Arizona. Just noting that one. In the chat, they're asking about the Reds. Drams wants to know why we not talking about the Reds in Baltimore. I like the Reds pieces.
I said Cincy.
Yeah, where do you have them, give or take?
In terms of the rank, probably
like 2 or 3, 6 or 7.
I think I named 6. I'd probably have them like 4 or 5 or 6. One of those 3. I think those are all pretty much in the same. Like it would be Cincy, Baltimore, and Miami. Miami's Cincy, Baltimore would probably be the final 3 in my 6. So,
Keith, you got an official Cincinnati take?
I do have interest. They would be more like 6 or 7 for me. Like it's just the pricing on some of these. It's sticker shock a little bit, but they've been awesome. There's no arguing that. Kyle Gibson's very attackable. Not a huge strikeout guy. I prefer the lefties. Ellie is obviously amazing. Fraley has a decent price, I think, for his upside. Fredo Freely, and it's just hard to pay 5.2 for Joey Votto in 2023, but he's in play. I don't love the pricing on him is my biggest concern. I think it's a great matchup. They're obviously very talented. It's a good offense overall at this point, but tough pricing.
Hey, Votto's got a 462 ISO in 2023. What do you mean? Oh, wait, it's only 17 at bats.
Yeah.
It's a small sample. Yeah. I mean, he's looked great for what it's worth, but I hear what you're saying. I get what you're saying. And yeah, life comes at you fast. You're looking at these Cincinnati. Votto was 2K on FanDuel 5, 6, 7 days ago. We know De La Cruz was 2K for several days on DK. McLean was a 2K player. Remember, these guys are all 2K at one point, it seems like.
McLean is an absolute beast.
Yes.
I love that kid. I wish the Sox had him.
I didn't get it because I'm in the wrong state, unfortunately, but I did about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Sent out the old tweet about the Reds. They were 25-1 to win that division. Yeah. I think
it's a great call if the pitching holds up.
Yeah, well, they got to get Green back, and they got to get Lodolo is really injured. Like he might.
Yeah, I think he's down till October or September at least.
Yeah, I got to get this in. He's on my season-long team. People are always wondering about my season-long team. He's currently in my IR, and it's struggling. I might trade him for future considerations. We're making a run for it, boys. We're close. So
this is Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
What's that, Bobby?
This is off top. Is Judge done for the year for the Yankees? Is that what the rumor is? I think it was you that said it.
They said that the way they phrased it, they left an opening for the chance of him not coming back. I think it's a toe, right? We're talking about a toe. I think it's a toe.
Yeah, but it's like torn ligaments type of thing. It's pretty serious, and yeah, definitely out for the season is on the table.
Wow. Could it be one of those deals like if the Yankees make a push, then he'll come back. If they don't make a push, he won't come back. Like it's got some wiggle room depending on It could be that maybe.
I
Like
mean, they owe that guy a lot of money for a long time. I think they're going to make sure he's okay before he's back.
Yeah, it's tough times, and I mean, world's smallest violin playing for the New York teams. I know everybody feels terrible for the Yankees and the Mets. It's been a rough season for both of them, but yeah, and it's probably good for baseball when they're good as a general thought. Just the marketing of the league in general. Let's see what else is going on in chat. 20 minutes until we hand it off to crunch time, give or take. You got TJ Zwarych going to bring in those. He's got those Spidey bombs. You have SquirrelPatrol. We have to have a clever name for Squirrel Homers, right? I mean, there's a lot to work with on that. I'm not sure if he's workshopped it or not. They're talking about Solaire Homers. CJ Crone. CJ Crone came back last night. Altuve back today for Houston, by the way, as far as players coming back. Red Scout got the Reds at 42-1. Oh, wow, that is amazing. That is a pretty good number you got in there. Probably a month or two ago, or maybe probably not start of the season. I wonder when you got that, because that is spectacular. All right. Judge got paid, of course. I think he's legitimately hurt. He's not faking an injury. He's I'm good. Squirrel Nuts. There you go. Did one of you fellas like Berea? Both you guys kind of like Berea. I can't make it across the board, but I hear you on Berea. Yeah, you guys both think he's
depends
all right?
on how many lineups you're making. He'll be in 1 or 2 in my 20 entry max. Like if you're playing 150, I think you should be pretty significantly over the field though.
Brian wants to know how you feel about the Rays. Somebody was touting the Rays. Is that you, Bobby? You like the Rays today?
Yeah, I like the Rays, Pats. In particular, let me find them. Jose Siri, if he makes the lineup, you always have to kind of wait to see that. Luke Raley, same thing. Randy Arozarena and Josh Lowe. That would be my 4.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we got the roof will be closed for what it's worth in Arizona. I guess that makes sense. Did you step outside today, Keith? It was what is it, like 1.5, 110? What is it in Arizona?
Just 103 today.
Okay, just
it was 108 earlier in the week, so we're a little cool spell here.
Have you? I guess you've been there about a year plus now. You've adjusted, right?
Yeah, a little over a year. I don't mind it at all. Honestly, the low 100 is not bad. I'll get out and take a walk or whatever, just to get a little sun, a little vitamin D. 103 isn't bad. Once you start hitting 118, that's when it gets pretty rough, and you don't want to stay out there very long.
Once you leave the FM stations, 118, it seems pretty dicey for sure. So what are we waiting for? Just Tampa and the White Sox? We got everything else, right, boys? As far as the lineups, I think so. I think we got everything else, unless I missed something. A's came out. Why are they playing Ruiz in the 9-hole now? Are they trying to lose?
I don't get that. I don't. I saw that the other day, and I was like, "What are they doing?" Yeah, we're waiting on the Yankees, Tampa.
But we got the Yankees.
Oh, we got the Yankees, so we're waiting on Tampa. Did we get the White Sox?
No, I think Tampa and Chicago, the White Sox, the only two that we do not have. We did get Oakland. Yeah, Kemp's leading off now with Noda, Rooker, Perez, Brown, Bride, Diaz, Langoliers. So that means they're running 2 catchers and Esteury Ruiz in the 9-hole there. So if you want to do the old wraparound, reach around, I guess you could do that with Oakland, I suppose. I did see, what was the question somebody asked?
You worked it in, Dean. You worked it in.
Bingo. Somebody's got bingo, right? It's on their bingo card for sure. Kirkwood was asking thoughts on Cox for 5.1K, and I'd rather run the reach round versus Cox than actually roster Cox. That's a sentence for you. Have some fun with that one, YouTube. All right, fire off some questions. It's a dry heat. Yes, that I hear. Why are we hanging? Let's see. Why am I hanging with you in the $5 single entry? Why would I not play the $5 single entry? Like, those are fun. I want to play as many single entry contests as I can. I've been banned from I don't know. I guess I can play the 3. Did you guys get in the 3 on DK?
No, you can't play the 3. It's 5 and above unless the prize pool is greater than something. So the $4.20 entry we can play, but not the $3 single entry. The prize pool is not big enough.
No, they ran this contest. It was up there. It was sold out within the
$150 $3.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. That sold out really, really quickly. And I was actually gonna have some fun and max it and just run 150 and just see, because that's not really I generally stay in my lane, but every once in a while I'll screw around and just let's see what I'm told according to Twitter, you can't lose if you run 150 lineups.
The problem is the prize pool. It was $50K up top, and 10th place was $1,500.
I didn't even see that contest.
I think it was a $5 150 though, not a $3. It was a couple days ago.
Fast.
Or
No, there was
last week,
one
right?
today. There was one today in the lobby that sold out like at noon. When it was either $3 or $5. That was a huge, like a ton of entries, and just like you could 150 it. And I saw it last night.
How
And
did
it was
I
gone
miss
when I was
that?
looking.
How did I miss that? I was looking for it. I don't know. I didn't see it.
Let's see, $3, 75,150 MME. That's what they're talking about in chat. Yeah, there were two. Okay, so there were two $3 150 maxes today, and I think the first one, the biggest one, was gone really, really fast.
I saw Big T tweet about it.
Yes, I saw people tweeting about it, and I saw it last night, and I'm like, oh, maybe I'll actually, maybe I'll have some fun with this one, but no fun. Sorry, that's why I'm in single entry stuff, and yeah, and I'm playing in the 15. I'm going to make 10 teams in the 15 because it's a flatter payout. It's not like 1/3 up top. Bobby, like I'm not you. I can't bank a tournament. I'm not going to first out of like 30,000 people, and I want a flatter payout, so I get my at least half my money back if I finish 20th. So that's how. That's which do you prefer, Bobby? And I assume you would change the way you make your lineups depending on the payout structure. Is that fair to say?
I just kind of play the same way every day, Dean. To be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Like if you know,
why change it when you're winning every night? Why change?
Yeah. Fair, who am I?
I have the same number every day. Like I'm not. I have a bank. I know what I can. I'm not trying to go over. I have a certain number that I'm playing, and obviously, yeah. If I see like a payout structure that I don't like, I'll stay away. But more to me, it's more like just taking breaks on days like I don't want to play. You know what I mean? Like when it's tough to get into like the process early.
A mental day.
But just like being able to be like, the kid was going crazy, I didn't get it. I didn't get into if I don't get right into like what I'm doing, then I just won't play, That's
your pre and post kid though. The kid splits are pretty good, right?
Kid splits are good. Yeah.
The kid's been a lucky charm for sure. Keith, is that just me? Do you build lineups a little differently, knowing like if 30%'s up top, like if it's a $300,000, $100,000 top, would you build your lineups differently as opposed to if it's $300K and 30,000 up top, like 10%? Or am I just?
You're talking about pool size, right? Like, yeah, I'm playing it differently. If it's pool size.
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of just missed. So yeah, I'm probably playing more uniques than what I would play in smaller field stuff.
Yeah. All right. If you had a thought, that by all means.
Am I just totally blanking? It seems like I didn't answer the question correctly.
It's possible I didn't phrase it correctly. I'm not sure.
I think one thing I do intentionally is I will make sure I like full on stack, like 5-3 stack in a single entry, because I don't think many people do that. Like a lot of times people will just play their cash lineup in there, or they'll include like the best value plays of the day, where the correlation I feel like can get me over a better projected points per dollar play. So full stacking in single entry. Like I build, like I'm like you, I enter every single entry contest I can find. But I build that like within my 20 lineup script. So I build them the same way as I do like a 20 entry max.
So I do have an answer to that now. I'm similar to like what Keith's doing. Like I'll look around the industry and see like how things are being built based on like certain things, and I don't know. We don't have the tool for it, so I really don't want to go into it. Basically, I like to see how by contest size what the build structure is based on a certain tool. Yeah,
it's always interesting when somebody's catching up in chat. Like I see comments, I'm like, oh, this is from like 30 minutes ago. We were talking about Ohtani. I'm like, what's John talking about? John's talking about why Ohtani should just be two different players on days that he pitches, but that's a whole different conversation, I suppose. So my apologies for throwing y'all off with my goofy line of questioning. Let's see. We still have 10 minutes. 10 minutes until crunch time. We can play the stack game. We can answer questions in chat. Boss Bro wants to know who Yanni Hernandez is. He's playing for the Dodgers today. I don't think he's especially good, but he is playing in Coors Field.
He's
really
a 25-year-old. He's 25 years old. Keith went over it at the top of the show.
He's bounced around a couple of teams. He is a little bit better prospect than I initially thought he was. I believe Fangraphs had him ranked 17th in the Dodgers organization as a preseason And actually, that's a 22 number. Disregard that. He's only got 2 home runs in 216 AAA plate appearances this season. Strikes out 20%. He walks a ton. He's walking 19% of the time. So not a ton of power, walks a lot. Good plate discipline guy.
I'll tell you this: when in 2018 he had 44 stolen bases in Single A, couple in Double A. He got promoted.
There you go. Walking a stolen base, we'll take that.
30 stolen bases in 2022 in Triple A for Arizona. He did have a cup of coffee with that's Triple A Rangers. Let's see. He played for Arizona last year for 28 official at bats, 2 stolen bases, and that's basically it. But yeah, he's got some wheels. And also, like, you hit the ball in the gap in Coors, you can get yourself a pretty cheap triple as well. We talked about how big that field is. So, like, what I if I'm playing a bunch of lineups, he's certainly in my pool. I would also imagine he's probably somebody that's vulnerable to the hook. He is, let's see, split hit. He's a switch hitter. Looks like, okay, he hits left and right. So maybe that keeps him in the game more likely than not. And looks like he's a third baseman. So maybe Muncy, takes his spot. If it's 5-5 in the ninth and it's Hernandez is up and there's a righty at the, on the mound and Muncy's yet to enter, maybe this is Muncy coming in and stealing his at bat, but you really can't predict those things.
So how are we playing the Dodgers? Like, I think that's a big, are we playing 5-mans? Are we playing 3-mans, 13 game? Like, how are we doing this?
Keith?
So I will play only 5-mans of the Dodgers. I don't want them as one-offs. Yes, you could get a game like yesterday where JD Martinez goes out and hits 2 home runs and he's really the only one you need. But I feel like more often than not, if one of them is going off, they're going to be doing enough damage where you want multiple pieces. It's hard to fit them as a full 5-man stack. A couple of value pieces do help make that a little easier. I just feel like not everyone will be full 5-man stacking because of pricing.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm distracted by Woj Bomb. Oh, wait, never mind. That's the wrong. No, wait, yeah. The Heats are going to be exercising their option on Oladipo. Not sure why, but okay.
Didn't he get injured again?
Yeah. Now we're giving him $9 million to do what? Like, I don't understand that, but all right, he's super replaceable.
They can pay me $9 million if they feel like it.
Well, I mean, are you a good glue guy? You a good locker room guy?
I am a good glue guy. I'm a good locker room guy.
Are you willing to accept Heat culture? Are you one to buy? Are you one to buy?
What's Heat culture? Didn't Jimmy Butler bring like gummies on the plane with Harrow or something? Like, I won't do that. So if I'm not going to do that, can I get the $9 million?
It's all Heat culture. Udonis Haslem. I'll just point to Udonis Haslem.
I can be Udonis Haslem, to be perfectly honest. Like I guarantee you, I can bring what he brings to the Heat.
He brings a certain grit. And he was, he signed for less so many years ago. So it's like they kept him around, I guess, because he wanted to be around, but also kind of a thank you many years ago where he could have left and got paid a bunch more. But yeah, you can't put a value. You can't quantify. You have your analytics. You can't quantify what Udonis brings to the Miami Heat.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't quantify what I would bring to the Miami Heat because I haven't been on the Miami Heat bench yet. So you don't know. I'm a good team guy, Dean.
You want to hear a half-baked idea I had? We have time, I suppose. There's no questions in chat. But Mr. Richards asking about 4-man stack. Yeah, Keith, so I don't make a ton of lineups. I don't play as many large field stuff as you do. It. I don't totally understand the principle of it's got to be 5 Dodgers or no Dodgers. Like, why can't we run 4-man Dodgers? Why can't I have a one-off for the Dodgers?
You can. I'm not saying by any means you can't. I'm searching when I'm stacking. I'm looking for the highest scoring team on the slate and getting 5 pieces from that team that have just crushed basically. Unless a guy like Martinez hits 2 home runs, if he gets a double and 3 RBIs, you don't really need him, I guess is my point. So really only the situation exactly like JD Martinez yesterday is when it works out. More often than not, you want the team scoring the most runs. I think the team most likely to score the most runs tonight is the Dodgers. So I will build them as 5-man stacks. They are too chalky to play as one-offs in my opinion. Like unless they hit 2 home runs, then you absolutely need that guy.
Last night I grouped, I think it was 2 to 5 Dodgers on every team. It's like I was getting 2-mans or I was getting, you know what I mean? Just like with the run total being what it was. I don't know. I think we're building a lot of 5-3s tonight. So the 5-man Dodgers, like Keith said, if people can't get there, maybe it's a good route based on pricing.
How do you feel about Houston? We talked about Houston playing in that positive environment weather-wise in St. Louis today, at least according to Weather Edge. Altuve is back as well. No Yordan Alvarez, so it weakens that lineup. It gets ugly pretty quickly, really. Altuve, Bregman, Tucker, Abreu, Diaz, Pena, Madras, Myers, and Maldonado. So we're running 2 catchers out there. One of Maldonado or Diaz is DHing, probably Diaz. You like the Astros, Bobby? I don't know if they were mentioned or not, but any interest in?
I like Kyle Tucker. I feel like I don't like the Astros as like a 5-man stack, but I do like Tucker.
That's how I feel.
These other like Tucker any day. Bregman's kind of fallen off, right? Altuve's back. He's fine. Yeah, Tucker would be my favorite.
Bly Madras. Let's see. What is this guy? What have we seen of him? He did play for the Pirates last year for over 100 bats, very little power, not a lot of speed. Trying to see if there's anything to be optimistic about Madras. I don't really see it. I assume he's super cheap if he's in the pool. It's like he's 2K. Keith, do we have an Astros take or a Madras take in general?
He was DFA'd by the Pirates. I mean, I think that says enough about what we think of him as a player. There's not anything to be excited about from a DFS perspective other than he's minimum price. I don't love picking on Michaelis. He's gotten blown up a few more times this season than he has in years past, but he's still a control guy who keeps the ball on the ground. And that's just not my favorite, pitcher to try to attack.
Yeah. He needs BABIP to go awry, basically. Yeah. It's happened before.
Yanni Diaz is in there too. Where's Yanni Diaz batting? I like him.
5th, just because that lineup is really rough. He's one of the better catchers in the slate.
Yeah.
Keith, Tony wants to know Bregman or Gunnar at DK. Nothing else. I assume it's a one-off, but can't tell you if it's a stack or not. Gunnar Henderson or Bregman?
That's Gunnar for me by a lot.
Let's see. Is Luke Weaver getting DFA tonight? I don't know his contract situation, to be honest, but maybe. I'm not sure. You know who I saw might be coming back in our lives? Is somebody saying Dallas Keuchel, which is exciting.
I saw that too. I don't remember who it was, but
he went from Cy Young, 2 Cy Youngs, at least 1 Cy Young, to like worst pitcher in the league really fast. He was out at Manoa before.
Look at Manoa.
Was up. Yeah, I mean, Manoa never quite got up there as far as Cy Young, but he was spectacular. And then a bunch of 18-year-olds just absolutely annihilated him the other day. I hope he comes back. I'm rooting for him. But, man, what a terrible line against an A-ball. Derek's talking about, the Houston 3-man stack, Tucker, Diaz, and Pena. Well, Andrew might be joining us late. Thoughts on Goldie and Gorman mini stack? You were typing that earlier, Keith. You like that, Goldie and Gorman stack?
Yeah, I absolutely love St. Louis. I think they're being overlooked today. Gorman hits from the left side. Goldschmidt's their left hitter. Those are my top 2 Cardinals, and I have the Cardinals in my top 5 stacks of the day.
We talked about that travel issue from London. Are we worried about that with the Cardinals? Because that would apply to the Cubs and the Cardinals, correct?
Yeah, the Cardinals made the same trip. I don't know what the recovery period is on something like that.
All right. No, I'm just wondering.
But fair points.
Let's see. Bobby, Brian wants to know Gunnar or the new kid Westberg on FanDuel for tournaments. I guess it's a Baltimore stack, I'm guessing. We've seen some power and some speed. Westberg buried in the 8 spot today, tumbling a bit. Gunnar down to the 6. We saw him leading off for a while, but now I guess Mullins is back, so Henderson moving down to the 6 spot. Do you have a preference? You have a lean, Henderson or Westberg?
It would be Henderson for me.
Let's see. Keith, top 3 DK stacks, not the Dodgers. Not the Dodgers, top 3 stacks on DK.
I will go Texas, Baltimore, and it's probably Tampa Bay, but St. Louis is right there.
This is for the field. Ken wants to know favorite FanDuel cheap pitcher. So we're saying cheap, meaning we can't give Snell, who's 11-1. Nola's 9.6. He's probably the best price for like talent. But he's also going to be the most popular. Is it Sears at 8.2? Dunning 7.5. There's no guarantee he goes 6 and he doesn't strike anybody out. My answer would be Sears. Favorite cheap pitcher on FanDuel. Feel free to anybody else chime in if you have a thought, but I think it's Sears.
I'm pulling up FanDuel pricing right now.
Okay.
I mean, Sears is clearly the guy. I'm just trying to see who else is down there.
Herman 7.7.
Yeah. I prefer Sears to Herman, even with the savings. What's
Logan
Berea?
Allen's 8.4.
I prefer Sears.
Yeah, I prefer Sears too.
That's where I'm at as well. LeMahieu, it's 3K on DK. Yes, please, J3 is saying. I mean, this is not this is not LeMahieu of 3-4 years ago. He's fine, I guess. The ballpark stinks and the power's been sapped, but decent chance to grab 5 ABs, assuming they go fairly well. Decent chance to get, 2 at bats versus that Oakland bullpen. So, okay, I guess. But I mean, we excited about LeMahieu? Probably not. If he makes everything work for me, I guess I'll play him. Keith, LeMahieu? Yeah.
Not excited. Not in that ballpark.
Yeah. All right. Homers? Did he give homers? Bobby, we have no official gimmick for you as far as who's going to homer today. Got nothing for.
I don't have a homer gimmick. No, I don't think I have that. I would say
you could hire
Soler.
a marketing team though. So
Soler's growing yard today.
I like the Soler call. Keith, you want to see Soler and raise him?
Chalky, I will go Josh Young, and off the board, Nolan Gorman.
I love the young call. Love the young call.
Yeah, I like it too. We got SquirrelPatrol. We have looks like TJ Zwarych, Kevin Roth. Roth, have we since simmered down? I know you're upset earlier in the day about the one of your little pet peeves, something that grinds your gears. You want to tell the people what it was?
Just like in public spaces on a phone, not even like, hey, yeah, I'm here, but just like, and so then Billy told Tommy, just screaming it to the whole gym, Dean, screaming it. Good. I had DMX blasting in my ears. The barking was so loud, I could still hear her talking from the other side of the gym through DMX barks in my freaking ears. It was awful. I hated it.
Is that the go-to? Is like straight DMX, or you have like a gym mix? What else pops up on there?
It's like DMX radio, but like any rap from that, era. And, that was back in my like basketball playing era. So that works for me.
Sure. Fair enough.
God.
Dean, I was talking to that person that you said may or may not be living in the same city that I do. And I confirmed you can still refer to me as the best DFS player in Saskatoon because this person lives in Regina. That's a totally different city, 2.5 hours away.
Oh, I thought Regina was in Saskatoon. It's not in Saskatchewan? Or it's in Saskatchewan, not
Saskatoon is a city. Saskatchewan is a province. So that's kind of like me saying, oh, I thought Orlando was in Miami.
Well, yes, I understand. You don't have to dress me down, TJ. I didn't realize this is Canadian Geography Day, but thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
I got you. I'm here to help.
Squirrel, do you have a home run gimmick? We were trying to think about it. Have you worked anything up as far as, TJ's got his Spidey bombs. Keith has his, what do we have, Keith? What did we decide on? We're still figuring it out. We didn't.
I rejected your, whatever you were trying to make it be.
These dogs.
I thought we were going with Squirrel Nuts.
Squirrel Nuts.
We're still working on the graphics.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's pretty solid. There you go. That'll work, I suppose. The chat they're happy to help as well. I'm sure they'll chime in and throw some names your way as well. But anything else, boys? Bobby, Keith, we got anything else before we step aside and get out of here? Make way for the FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time.
Nope. Have a good night, guys. Good slate. Good luck out there.
Alrighty. Roth, take it over. The FanDuel sponsor Crunch Time. You got TJ Zwarych, the greatest DFS player of all Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. Let's pretend Regina doesn't exist. You got SquirrelPatrol as well, and you have Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
We probably should pretend Regina doesn't exist. That seems like a good idea. Hey, welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. This is Crunch Time. This show is sponsored by FanDuel, and it is the show where we bring on two of the sharpest minds in the biz, in the industry, Going to walk you up to lock. We're going to tell you pitchers, hitters, stacks. We're going to take your questions as well. And we're going to do some squirrel nuts. Some coming up as well. It's going to be a fantastic show. I also shout out to Derek, who says Keith's home run call should be Eisters Fleisters. Like, like the deep fly, like Eisters Fleisters. I feel like that's it. I think we've got it. Eisters Fleisters coming soon. Anyways, happy to be joined by a couple of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got the aforementioned TJ Zwarych. What's up, man?
Doing well. Had a nice few days off. Monday and Tuesday didn't have any shows or any content. Sunday I was on in the morning. And here in Saskatoon, we, like you and Dean, we like to pretend that Regina doesn't exist because there's no real reason for it. It's the capital of the province, but it's ugly. Their water tastes bad. Whereas Saskatoon, we got this nice, beautiful river flowing through the city, and it's just much better.
I've told you like many times, I've Googled and looked at Google images of Saskatoon, and it looks literally delightful. Like, I want to go hang out with you in Saskatoon. It looks beautiful.
Don't get me wrong. In the winter, it gets cold, but in the summer now, it's just absolutely beautiful. Like, it's 80 degrees, between 75 and 80 degrees every single day. I went golfing on my days off, shot the best round I've ever played in my life. So that's been pretty fun. And now I get to have a show with Squirrel. It's our first baseball show together of the year. And so nice to hang out with you again. Obviously, we got to hang out in person in the live final in Chicago. And I got to see the real side of Squirrel, not just the on-camera side, but the real side. And so I'm happy to be doing shows with them again.
Yeah, I would say it's the same. It's the same dude, which is a compliment. Same guy on the camera and off the camera. What's up, Squirrel? How are you, man?
Good, yeah. We got a nice little slate. It's a Coors Field slate with bad pitching and lots of games. But yeah, it's a good baseball slate. Should be a fun Wednesday night.
Okay, well, I'm glad you started with the pitching because I do have some minor delay risks that we probably need to talk about. New York has a really low risk, and I think I just stick with it. But Boston is the one where the overall pattern in Boston looks like what eventually did happen in New York last night, which was this healthy storm system faded out. And by the time it got there, it was just light enough to play through. But I can't promise that it's going to do that. That's just what happened in a similar situation last night. How interested are we in pitchers in Boston, Squirrel?
Not really at all.
Oh,
so that's a big
great.
relief. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Then I think we just kind of eat the low chance that a pop-up causes us a delay in New York. And I think we're probably good. The bats are going to be fine in both those games regardless, to be clear. Whether Boston or New York, bats are not an issue. It's just, will we see the storms hold together into Boston for a delay? Will we see a little pop-up downpour in New York? It's possible, but the odds are against that happening at this point. So I'll watch for it. If I see something ominous that it looks like it's going to be right upstream of the ballpark in New York, I'll let you know and we can figure it out from there.
In my 150 lineup build, I have about 10% of Braxton Garrett, who is in that game going up against Boston. And so that's somebody that it's like, even if there's a worrisome weather issue, I'm still totally fine with getting 10% of a player in 150 lineups if that's the case. We got over 500 people watching. And so I'm thinking when we hit 150 likes, I got a dual Spidey bomb for the people. Got to throw on the mask, got a double, giving out 2 players, one who's just my favorite player to hit a home run today, and then one that is my favorite odds to hit a home run today. I'll throw on the mask, and then we got a second Spidey bomb coming at 200 likes. So keep hitting that like button.
You mean the 200 like last week? I was watching the show, and I had forgotten to hit the like button until TJ said like Spidey bombs, and I was 200th. I got the people the Spidey bombs. I was so excited.
It feels good. That feels good when you're the guy. Very nice. So I also have a double Spidey bomb, except mine is one guy who's going to hit 2 home runs, and it's Shohei freaking Ohtani. How amazing is he? Real quick, how amazing is that dude?
He is so unbelievably amazing, and he's Spidey bomb number 1.
Let's go.
Here's the thing. I have to pull the trigger on it now because the 2 people I was debating for like just my favorite home run of the night, it was Shohei and it was Jorge Soler. And I think it was Bobby gave Jorge Soler his home run pick right at the end of the show. And now you got the double dong with Shohei. So he's the first Spidey Bomb too. And then in terms of my favorite bet today, Bo Bichette is plus 1,100 on Caesars to hit a home run. Like, he's in a tough matchup against Logan Webb, but a player of Bo Bichette's caliber should never be plus 1,100 to hit a home run. So he is the double Spidey Bomb alongside Shohei Ohtani. Keep hitting that like button. We got the second one coming, or I guess third one coming at 200 likes.
Okay, very good. Excellent stuff. Guys, let's dive into this slate. You can remove that, Spidey. We may see you again. Hopefully we'll get to see you again later in the show. Let's talk about some of the pitching options here. You both kind of gave me a little nibble of what you're doing, but I want the whole deal. And TJ, why don't you lead us off? And I know that you're mostly a tournament guy, but also I'd like to know like what you think the cash play is.
So on FanDuel today, our lovely, lovely sponsor, FanDuel, there'd only be 4 pitchers in my entire pool, whether I'm running 150 lineups or if I'm looking at a single entry. There's only 4 players I think I'd be considering, and it's Blake Snell, Kodai Senga, Aaron Nola, and JP Sears. I think Aaron Nola is pretty much just the cash game play over on FanDuel. He's 9.6. From a raw points perspective, you'd be choosing between Snell and Nola, but Nola's 9.6 and Blake Snell is 11.1. And so of those 4 players, I think Nola is definitely the cash game play. And then if I was running a single entry, my favorite would be JP Sears. He's going to be my favorite pitcher on DraftKings, where he's even cheaper, but on FanDuel, even at 8.2, he'd be the lowest I would go today and would probably be my first choice in a single entry if I wasn't going with Nola. On DraftKings, I think Nola and Sears are probably the pairing that you want to go with. If you want to go Snell Sears instead of Nola, or even double pay up for Nola Snell, I think that's totally fine as well. But for cash, I think you're choosing 2 of the 3, Nola, Snell, and Sears. And then in terms of tournaments today, those are going to be my 3 highest owned guys, but I'm also including Senga, Jamie Barria, and Dane Dunning as my next pool. And then a very small amount of my lineups will include Braxton Garrett and Michael Grove.
Okay, very good. Squirrel, I want to hear what your thoughts are in tournaments and in cash, pitcher-wise.
Yeah, so I think the 3 guys that probably separate themselves a little bit are Blake Snell, Aaron Nola, and Senga, but they don't really separate themselves enough that like you need to play those guys. Actually, I like going really dispersed. If you're doing 150 lineups, like I'm probably spreading out as much as I ever do. Just because the top guys, like for the price, just aren't that great. I'm probably going a little bit more with the cheaper guys. JP Sears is one of those guys on both FanDuel and DraftKings that you can play in tournaments. I think he'll be especially on like DK as a SP2. Dane Dunning is another pretty cheap guy, and Domingo Germán. I don't know if TJ mentioned him, but I like him. He fits in there in the medium range, where he's probably one of the best projected for the price guys. He might be popular. He might be a little bit higher owned than we're seeing there, the 12%. But I don't think it'll be egregious because I think there's a lot of guys who are projected right around him for the same price, and he's probably my favorite of those guys.
Okay. So yes, I did not mention him, and that was a mistake. I probably should have, especially running down like the players who may be projecting close to optimal today from a DFS perspective. But for me in my tournaments, I am full fading him in the 170 lineups I'm running. I'm doing 150 in one tournament and then it's another 20 entry max. And I X'd out Germán out of the pool. So forgot to mention him, but that is because I'm not playing him.
Okay, very good. Squirrel, is there any other names you want to mention here? I feel like we have not really said a whole lot.
I think you can go down to Logan Webb again, especially on 2-pitcher sites. If I'm doing 150 lineups, I'm going to probably have 10% or less of Lucas Giolito, Logan Webb, Mitch Keller. Mitch Keller is just overpriced, so he's going to be really low owned, so you can play him. But the downside is like on a Coors Field slate, you're not getting the expensive bats if you spend up for a guy that maybe hasn't been pitching that well and maybe doesn't have like that much upside.
Okay. All right. I think that brings us right into the stacks and into the hitters. And Squirrel, you kind of mentioned it. we've got good bats in Colorado, and I assume everything's kind of pivoting around that.
It is. So the Dodgers, again, the Dodgers are a good hitting team, and they're going into Coors Field. So they're going to be by far the best projected, highest owned. I think they're going to see a lot of good ownership. They didn't do that great last night, but they didn't kill you. Particularly if you had JD Martinez, who hit 2 home runs. The rest of the team didn't do a whole lot. But I don't think that'll affect the ownership too much. I wish I had an answer for you should always fade the Coors Field team, or you should always play the Coors Field team. But it really depends on the day and the ownership and the contest that you're in. For single entry, I think you can play the Dodgers if you want to, but I would maybe do a 4-3 stack on FanDuel and maybe try to pick a one-off that's not going to be that highly owned. And same thing on DK, play a 5-man Dodgers stack if you want. Just try to differentiate elsewhere. But I think you can totally, for single entry, for large field, and particularly for large field, if you're doing a bunch of entries, don't shy away from playing some other stacks as well, because there are going to be runs in every single game, I can promise you, unless one of them gets rained out. But other than that, there's going to be runs in every single game. So yeah, you can go down the board. Some of the other teams that I like Texas is probably right after the Dodgers in terms of run total. I actually like Colorado a little bit more. They're going to be way less owned than the Dodgers, and they have the same exact thing environment. Dodgers pitcher Michael Grove, he's nothing to fear in particular. He hasn't put up good numbers so far in his major league career. Some other teams I like, Kansas City. I always like because they fill tough positions with power hitters like shortstop and catcher. And then Philadelphia as well is pretty far down on the implied run total list, and that's going to affect their ownership. But again, they have power and they have speed too. They'll steal some bases. So those are some of my other Coors Field pivots.
Okay, I'm glad you mentioned Kansas City, because I forget to mention that I absolutely love the hitting weather there. It is hot as hell, it's humid, and the winds are blowing out to left at 10 miles per hour. So it's kind of got that hitter's trifecta where all of the weather factors are in favor of that ball freaking carrying. So I am a fan of that, very much so. TJ, what are your thoughts here as far as stacks go?
So one thing I do think is a little bit different than last night is last night I felt the gap between my next favorite stacks and the Dodgers was smaller. I was a little bit more willing to differentiate because while the Dodgers looked amazing, there was a lot of other teams I liked almost as much. Today, the gap to me is just a little bit bigger. So in my 150 lineups, I have the Dodgers in a third of them. I got them in a full Dodger stack in 50 of those 150. And then I think my next favorite team is going to be the Marlins. They just get such a big upgrade going from where they play to Fenway. I really like Tampa today. I really like Philly. I really like St. Louis and Colorado. And then Baltimore and Texas are probably the next two teams I'm willing to mix in. But like I said, I'm playing a ton of lineups, so there's a lot of different teams in there. I got a little Mets, got a little Reds, got some Oakland, got some Royals. But my top 5 are Dodgers, Marlins, Phillies, Rays, and then the Cardinals or Rockies.
Okay, very good. Matt says, hey, Roth, before we go position by position, can you clarify the Boston and New York Met delay risk? Is that an in-game delay? Yes, there's the potential, more likely in Boston, but truthfully, more likely in neither game of an in-game delay in either game. I don't think it is a very good potential, but it does exist in both games. Just making sure. Yeah, that's it. You got a chance of a delay in both games. I think you probably avoid it in both, but it's a legitimate chance in both games. Let's go position by position. TJ, you can lead us off with a little catcher talk. What do you see?
Let's do it. 35 likes away from our next Spidey Bomb. We also did have a question in the YouTube chat about which are the Dodgers that you feel are very necessary in DK Cash? Who are the priorities? And so starting at catcher, that's a good time to touch on that partially because Will Smith to me is one of those guys. Smith, Betts, and maybe even JD Martinez would be the guys that I'd be really prioritizing. Maybe even some Miguel Vargas in there too. But Will Smith is my top catcher today. I like Elias Diaz, Yainer Diaz, both of the Diazes, and then Patrick Bailey is probably my next favorites. And then in terms of some spend ups to get a little contrarian, I like JT Realmuto and Salvador Perez.
Okay, very good. Squirrel, your thoughts at catcher?
Yeah. He took my two with his last comment there. I like the spend ups. Actually, I don't always like catcher. But yeah, Will Smith is one of the Dodgers who's hitting third, and so he's going to be the highest projected. He's also going to be the highest owned, and I really like the pivots of like JT Realmuto and Salvi Perez. I think both the Phillies and Kansas City are great stacks because they have power today. So yeah, like Realmuto and Perez are my two like best spend ups. Elias Diaz is then the Colorado catcher. Like he's going to be far less owned than Will Smith. And again, he's got the same hitting weather, so I think he is a great single entry pivot.
Very good. All right, take me to first base.
Sure. So Freddie Freeman stands out far ahead of everybody because he's one of the Dodgers' best hitters. He doesn't have the platoon advantage today, but it's probably not going to affect his ownership that much. The guys I like pivoting to, like Nolan Jones. That's again the Rockies in Coors Field. Paul Goldschmidt, I think, has actually got a good matchup today. So I like Goldschmidt. I'm not in love with the Cardinal stack, but I think he's a really good one-off. Anthony Rizzo made the Yankees lineup, so he's a little bit underpriced at $2,900. CJ Cron, the guy I wrote up in lineup HQ today, again for the Rockies, probably going to see a little bit less ownership than Nolan Jones. And then Isaac Paredes for Tampa Bay. I actually like Tampa Bay. The lineup just came out. Paredes is in it. Or Luke Raley. So you can play either of those guys. And I like the idea, like the Tampa lineup is coming out late and they're projected for a good amount of runs.
Okay. TJ, your thoughts at first?
Yeah, I like the Raley call. I have quite a bit of him as well. Freeman is obviously the top play. I love Pete Alonso as a contrarian tournament option today. My highest owned guy. Now, this is probably a little bit deceiving because he's probably not that guy I have the most at first, but just because he has second eligibility as well. And I'd rather play him at second, but he is my most owned player with first base eligibility, and it's Brendan Donovan leading off for St. Louis today. I like St. Louis's offense a lot, and I like getting a leadoff guy there. So I'm getting to quite a bit of him. And then my favorite, obviously, Shohei Ohtani on DraftKings. You can play it first. Bryce Harper, you can play it first on Fanduel. He's fine. But my favorite salary saver today is going to be Ryan O'Hearn batting cleanup for Baltimore.
Okay, great. Take me to second base.
Miguel Vargas is batting fifth and is way too cheap. And so he's going to be my favorite guy today. We're projecting him for like 11 or 12% ownership, and I'm getting about 35% Miguel Vargas today. So I really love Vargas. And then my next highest owned is also a Dodger. Yanni Hernandez is batting ninth. He's nothing spectacular, but he's in Coors. He's got patience. He might draw a walk or two, and he's fast. So if he gets on base, he could likely steal a base. And a guy in Coors at that price tag, it's very appealing. A lot of people are going to Herman today, and so I don't have a lot of Oakland full stacks, but I got a lot of Oakland mini stacks and some one-offs. And so Tony Kemp, almost min price or at min price, I can't quite remember, but I have 20% of him here. I really like getting him. Brendan Donovan, who I mentioned as well. And then from there, it's just people mostly in stacks. But the guy for just in stacks that I like the best is probably Luis Arias.
Okay. Squirrel, your thoughts a second?
See, second base, Mookie Betts is going to stand out on FanDuel as a second baseman. Miguel Vargas is probably the most underpriced guy. He's only $2,600. So you're going to see a lot of those two guys. And then the guy right after them in my projections is Ryan McMahon. So the top three guys we've got listed there on lineup HQ. If you're trying to get away from that Coors Field game, which I don't think is a terrible idea, Marcus Semien, this guy that's always got power, Gleyber Torres, Jose Altuve, and Nolan Gorman.
Okay, wonderful. I think that takes me to third, or TJ, do I need your second base thoughts?
No, you got my second base thoughts. Okay. We're good for third.
Squirrel, third.
So I think Jose Ramirez is a great pivot off of Ryan McMahon. He's hitting in that Kansas City game that he said has great weather. So he's a great hitter in any kind of environment. So like him, like some of the Tampa Bay guys, Yandy Diaz and Isaac Paredes, Ellie De La Cruz, incredibly talented player. And then he's going to be very low owned today because of his price is $4,500 on FanDuel, and I don't think Cincinnati is going to be like a hugely popular stack. And then for savings, I don't mind like Josh Donaldson with the Yankees.
Okay. TJ, your thoughts at third?
I love the Jose Ramirez call. Really like him today. I'm not planning on full stacking Cleveland, but I do really like him as a one-off. Ryan McMahon, I forgot to mention him at second, where he has eligibility on FanDuel, but I do love him at third base. Yanni Hernandez, who I mentioned at second. Mikael Garcia, kind of the same thing with Cleveland as with Kansas City as with Cleveland in that same game. You mentioned really like the weather there, Roth. I don't like either of the full stacks a ton, but there are some one-offs that I do like getting to quite a bit in that game. And two of them are here at third, Jose Ramirez and Mikael Garcia, who you can use as a salary saver. The last guy I really like quite a bit is Nolan Arenado.
Okay, excellent. That brings us to shortstop. Let's run through it.
So both sites, Mookie Betts is definitely going to be my favorite option here. Ezekiel Tovar batting second for Colorado is somebody that I don't mind either. Trey Turner, too cheap on FanDuel at 3,600. Bobby Witt Jr. is too cheap on FanDuel at 3,400. I like them both more on FanDuel than I do on DraftKings. And then another guy I like getting to as a tournament play is Wander Franco.
Okay, excellent. Squirrel, your thoughts?
Sorry, shortstop.
Yep, we're short.
So Mookie Betts, shortstop eligible. I like a lot. It's like Trey Turner. Actually, Trey Turner and Bobby Witt is actually a good number of good shortstops tonight. Like Turner and Bobby Witt can always like hit a home run and steal a base or do both. Then Fernando Tatis, Wander Franco. The Tampa Bay stack is actually growing on me. Just as the lineup is a little bit late, coming out late, like it's going to be low owned. Then Corey Seager is pretty expensive, but it could be worth it. It's going to make him have low ownership. And then, Almed Rosario is also hitting in that game in Kansas City, Cleveland. So he's a guy you can pivot to, and he's not too expensive at 2,700.
Okay, very nice. That brings us to the outfield, and we still have like 20 minutes plus until lock. So feel free to take your time, Squirrel.
Sorry, I'm doing outfield.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But I like that delay because that just ate a whole nother 3 seconds. So keep it up. Good work.
Sure. So yeah, Mookie Betts and JD Martinez, like we have, we've been mentioning the Dodgers a lot. Like they're going to be highly projected, highly owned. I don't mind them as one-offs. Like if you see like last night, you played JD Martinez as a one-off. You did really well. So I think you can do that in single entry, like stack 2 other teams. I maybe wouldn't use like JD Martinez because that's almost repeating the exact same scenario from last night, but like, I don't mind Mookie Betts. And then Shohei Ohtani is going to be the next highest projected outfielder. Fernando Tatis is outfield eligible on FanDuel. Nolan Jones, Kyle Schwarber. I do like the Phillies stack. They're one of my favorite stacks outside of Coors. And he's got a lefty versus lefty matchup. Like he can hit the ball out of the park no matter what, and he's hitting leadoff, so he's got a good chance of getting at least a few, 2 or so like bullpen at bats, which might come against our 80. Corbin Carroll, Jazz Chisholm, who I wrote up on in lineup HQ. I like Miami as a stack. They've got a big hitting ballpark upgrade, or you can use Jazz as a one-off. Randy Arozarena and Christian Yelich.
Okay, very good. TJ, that brings us to you, good sir. Let's grovel for some likes so that we get to 200, so that we get a Spidey bomb as you go through this. So make sure you're hitting the thumbs up. This is free content from 2 very sharp people. All we ask is a little thumbs up because we want to keep it free. We're doing this for you. All you got to do is hit a thumbs up. TJ, what are your thoughts in the outfield?
We care about you. We're trying to help you. All you got to do is take your mouse over, slide it, click the like button. If you're watching on your phone, you just got to click hide chat and then click the like button. It's one extra step. It's tough.
Easy.
I get it, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
We get to 200. We got a Spidey bomb. Outfield today, there's so many players that I like. Like I like Betts is my favorite guy, but I'm probably playing him at shortstop more than anywhere else today. Martinez is number 2. DeLuca is number 3. Luke Raley, and then like after that, after the Dodgers, like James Outman can fit there too. Is kind of where it expands for me. Luke Raley, Lars Nootbaar, Ryan O'Hearn, Cedric Mullins, Kyle Schwarber, Jose Siri, and of course the Miami players that Squirrel mentioned as well. I love today, Soler and Jazz Chisholm. Adolis Garcia is somebody that I absolutely love for tournaments. And then a very, very off the board play. He's only 3K on DraftKings. Leading off today for Arizona is Jake McCarthy. I don't love Arizona as a full stack going up against Eflin, but anytime you get a guy that's this fast, batting leadoff, I'm going to have interest because if he gets on, he'll almost definitely steal a base. So Jake McCarthy leading off at 3K on DraftKings, I think makes for a great tournament play.
Very nice. Excellent stuff, guys. It is time for a few home run picks, and I think we should go with Squirrel's Nuts to start it off. Squirrel, you got a couple picks for me? Some favorites. It can be DFS or betting. I don't really care.
Sure. So I think like one that I like, and I think he's going to be a little bit under-owned in DFS, but Giancarlo Stanton, the Yankees. He's getting a ballpark downgrade, but I still like it as a home run pick. And who was my other home run pick?
More likes for Spidey Bomb still, so hit that damn like button. We've been nice. Now we need you to hit the damn like button.
Now we threaten you. All right, you got one more for us, Squirrel?
Yeah, Salvi Perez at the catcher spot for Kansas City. That Kansas City game. I mean, Salvi can always hit 2 out of the ballpark, so I think he's a great DFS pick. Great home run call. Okay,
I like it. TJ, we're gonna hold off. We're gonna need the people to get a few more likes before we can do it. T says, when can we expect you to launch your political career? Your ability to gesticulate with a pen is such a hidden talent. I don't know what about it. Just like gives me comfort. It makes me feel good to do that. I don't know, but maybe one day. Hey, we got to take some QQs that are more legitimate ones. Let's open up the RG Discord where the cool kids are hanging out. And I'll start with this FanDuel cash question. Squirrel, it's for you. Chisholm and Jay Bell or Mullins and Duffy?
I go with the Jazz lineup, Chisholm and Bell.
Okay, very good. FanDuel cash. TJ, this one's for you from Achilles. Rosario Chisholm or Segura and Nolan Jones?
Rosario and Chisholm. And we have reached 200 likes. Speaking of Jazz Chisholm, you can find him for plus 500 on FanDuel. Wonderful odds for him. He's knocking one out of the park today against Boston, one of my favorite DFS plays, and he is also a great bet, and he is Spidey Bomb number 3. There's, almost 600 people watching. It'd be less than half to get up to 250 likes. Let's get it. I want to give a 4th Spidey Bomb.
Okay, I'm jumping on right now. Let me. I wasn't going to do it for 200. But for the next one, we're in. Let's see if we can get to 250. In the meantime, more QQs coming in. Also, now's a good time because we have like 15 minutes until lock. If you have strategy questions you want to ask these guys, both of them, they know what they're doing here. Multi-entry. Am I lagging? Am I lagging really badly? No? Am I back?
No.
Okay. It didn't look like you were, but then you just like went and about 2 seconds and it was crazy.
Nice. All right, Squirrel, your favorite stack other than the Dodgers on FanDuel, single entry and GPP?
So I like, let's see, probably Colorado for single entry, like me, and maybe even like playing Colorado without the Dodgers or like using one Dodger as a one-off. And then going a little bit bigger, like a little bit more off the board, probably Philadelphia.
Okay, very good. TJ, your thoughts? You got a favorite, your favorite stack other than the Dodgers on FanDuel?
Favorite one would be Miami.
Okay. Squirrel, what are we drinking?
Dogfish Head.
Gotcha. Dogfish Head, is that your go-to, right?
Yeah. I'm open to endorsement if anybody's watching. But yeah, I drink it like they're paying me. Yeah.
Okay. Next time I do a beer run, I'm gonna get some Dogfish Head because that's a common. You can get that anywhere, right? Essentially.
Yeah, it's pretty common. I think it's more common on the East Coast, but they're out of Rehoboth, Delaware originally. Like the guy that founded it, like has written like books on business. Like he was like, I think he might have been a high school dropout. He just like went to Rehoboth Beach and like just started a brew pub, like kind of lived the dream.
Yeah,
this is like back in the 90s. But yeah, and my family goes out to Rehoboth every once in a while, so we like to go to like the actual brew pub.
Nice. Okay, I'm in. Next time I do a beer run, I will give it a shot. I will give you my honest review, which is I like all beer, so it's going to be a positive review. Let's see. FanDuel cash question. Let's see. We'll give this one to TJ. TJ, Nola Fortes or Jermaine and Will Smith on FanDuel cash? German, whatever the hell his name is.
I'm gonna see if I can get you
Thank you.
It's you got to go Noah and Fanduel Cash, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna see if I can get you somebody better than Fortes at 2,200.
Okay, I'll give you a little time because we've got it.
Like if you have any money at all extra, I'd rather go up to Seth Brown or Garrett Cooper. If you don't, you need 2,200 or less. I would rather go with Carlos Perez batting fourth, I think.
Very good. All right, FanDuel single entry, TJ, and just right back to you here. Seager, Seth Brown, or Garcia Rooker?
I think I'd go Seager, Seth Brown.
Okay, we'll go back to back with Squirrel, FanDuel Cash, Cooper DeLuca, or Kemp Vargas.
Probably Kemp Vargas. That was Cash?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I do Kemp Vargas. But yeah, it's good pricing.
All right, I'm going to give one kind of final radar update here. In New York, there's still nothing imminent or ominous. There still is that chance that something random pops and causes a delay. I don't think that's very likely. I think you play with whatever you've got in New York and you stick with it. In Boston, I mean, I feel like I'm getting burned by the same thing that burned me yesterday because it sure as hell looks like there's a delay coming to me in Boston. But models fizzle this storm out before it makes it there. So maybe it falls apart just enough and they just play through some light rain. That's what happened in New York yesterday. And that's what models are suggesting happens today. But to my eye, I think the delay is pretty likely in Boston. So I don't love pitchers in Boston, but I said that about New York until like the very last minute when I kind of pivoted yesterday. So, and that worked out fine. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Can you play? Oh, okay. Back to you, Squirrel. Can you play Tony Kemp on DK as a last piece in large field tournaments? I'm playing a red stack.
Yeah, I don't see why not. So he's leading off, and he's not going to be highly owned. So he's 2,200 on DK. If he's your last piece, like at second base or something, like that's a absolutely fine play.
Very good. Beaner says, can you recap the bombs? So we've got the Spidey bombs scrolling on the bottom, and then Squirrel, you want to give your picks real quick?
Yeah, we're Salvi Perez and Giancarlo Stanton, and hopefully I'll throw in a third one. I think Ryan McMahon.
Very nice. Okay, TJ, kicking it back over to you here on DK. You want McLean or Lindor straight up?
I'd go Lindor.
Okay. TJ Beaner says, could Dodger stacks give us goose eggs today?
I don't think so.
Wow. I mean, the answer is, it's sure. It's baseball. Anything's possible, but I don't think
they
so.
They could. I don't think they will.
Yeah. Squirrel, who would you prefer in a, let's see, who do we think is coming in behind Ort in Boston? Squirrel, do we know? TJ, do we know?
I don't know. I thought there was maybe I don't know. Especially with the light of possibility of weather, I don't know if we want to be going to the Boston picture.
Yeah. All right. Squirrel, who would you prefer in your Texas stack, Garver or Lowe? Or maybe it's Lau. I was leaning Garver because I had Duran in the stack.
I'd probably go Garver. Yeah, especially if there's like some correlation there. I don't know. I think Garver is hitting 8th. I'm not sure where Duran's hitting, but he usually hits down in the lineup. I would go Garver.
I believe Duran's 7 today and Garver's 8.
Was that? Yeah, 7th and 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I would go Garver because he's got power and he's going to be really low on hitting 8th. But it doesn't necessarily matter if you're just trying to get like a home run or two.
Okay. I'm going to take a few of these questions here from the YouTube chat, but make sure you guys are hanging out with us in the Discord as well. Chuck Deuces says, Perez has been... Oh, that's not a question. John says, any non-Dodgers cash game locks? TJ, are there any non-Dodgers that you think are kind of must-plays in DK?
My favorite that I'd probably get in first would be Jorge Soler, just because he's 4,600. He's so cheap for what he could potentially do today. I don't mind some Cedric Mullins, but I honestly don't think there's anybody that's like a must play outside of a Dodger.
Okay, very good.
My favorite spend up outside of a Dodger would be Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah. All right. Trey says TJ, Gunner, Jung, or Breggy.
I would go Jung, Gunner, Bregman.
Okay. Isidore Rangel Jr., I might have butchered that pronunciation. Sorry, my man. Says Garrett and Snell or KC and LAD. I don't know what the hell he's asking. I'm just going to say it. Garrett, Snell, KC, LAD, 3. No, nobody.
I think he's talking about the lineup hitting spots. Snell and Garrett and the Kansas City, like 5-3-7 hitters, or the Dodgers.
Oh, basically, how about this? Is Garrett a pitcher?
Yes.
I've got it. He's saying, can I go Garrett Snell with the Kansas City stack and a mini Dodger stack? Got it.
Yes.
Got it.
I think you can do that, but there is like a little bit of weather concern because he's the Miami pitcher in Boston.
Yes.
I like him better than the Boston than trying to nail the Boston bullpen guy. But I like obviously I like Kansas City and the Dodgers as stacks. And Garrett will be a little owned. I think that'll be different enough.
Okay, very nice. TJ, any love for Baltimore versus Weaver, who's been getting lit up most of the season in a DK GPP?
Yep, I really like Baltimore. I think they're my 6th or 7th highest owned stack.
Very nice. All right, jumping back real quick into the RG Discord. Dan Jan says DK GPP Dunning Sears pairing. Okay, TJ, you all right with a Dunning Sears pairing?
Yep, that actually is my single entry pairing right now on DraftKings.
Very good. Okay. Hey, did you guys know you can sign up for the Fanduel Sportsbook if you're in a legal sports betting state? Take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets. Terms and conditions apply. Make sure you are taking advantage of that fantastic offer while we get some more questions about 6-7 minutes here until lock. DK GPP Squirrel, a catcher, Elias Diaz or Perez?
Ooh, I like them both a lot. I would go with Perez if it's like a one-off.
Okay. Bates says FanDuel Cash last piece Salvi. It's S Perez or Rutch Dog.
I'd go with Salvi.
Very good.
He's my squirrel nut. So.
Okay. They gotta have it. Beaner says, give me a FanDuel GPP shortstop play. TJ, FanDuel GPP at short. He did not put any salary restrictions on that.
I would go Trey Turner Trey Turner or Bobby Witt Jr.
Okay. Kareem says, hey, I don't want to be that guy, but could you go over the weather risk in Boston again? I can try. I don't have a clear answer, which is why it probably doesn't feel like I've given you a clear answer. It looks to my eye like there's a decent chance of a delay. All of the forecast models take the storms that I'm looking at and they fade them out just as they move into Boston. And then if that happens, if models are right, they would just play through some light rain. I don't know if models are right or not. From what I'm seeing, I think it looks pretty healthy and could move into Boston and cause an in-game delay. Bats are going to be fine regardless, but I think there's a chance of a delay. Maybe models are right. It fades out, and then I look dumb. That happened last night, so it wouldn't be shocking if that happened again. Is Grove in play from Boss Bra? TJ, Grove?
Only if you're running 150 lineups or more.
Okay. Ashvin Suresh says, Squirrel, I need a cheap third baseman on DK, man. Help me out. Jared Triolo?
Cheap third baseman. Like the cheapest would be Tyler Nevin. It's not a terrible play. He's like flat 2,000.
Nice. Okay. Very good. That is cheap. FanDuel Cash
I just like throwing Miguel Garcia. If you have a little bit more money, like he's 1,100 more. But yeah, if you don't have money, go with Nevin.
Okay, great. Kenny Walton says FanDuel Cash Squirrel second base Ryan McMahon, El Arias, or Nolan Gorman.
I'd go with Ryan McMahon.
Okay, very good. LKR says TJ, I've got 3,200 for an outfield or first baseman. Who is the best option in a DK GPP 3,200 first or outfield besides O'Hearn? Because I've already got him.
So if you have other Dodgers in your lineup, it's DeLuca. If you do not, it's Jake McCarthy would be my favorite for tournaments.
See, you're already answering these questions. You're a step ahead of me, bud. Good work.
Just figured in case we didn't get back to YouTube before lock, I wanted to help out.
I like it. All right. Thoughts on Dane Dunning on DK? Is that the dude who's in the Boston game? Or no?
No, that is Texas's pitcher.
Okay.
He doesn't really strike anybody out, but he is very cheap facing Detroit and projects very well in the bat.
Okay. So do either of you have any Dane Dunning?
Yes.
I do, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Particularly on DK because he's so cheap and you need two pitchers.
Yeah,
Very
Sears and Dunning are currently my two pitchers on DK.
Gotcha. Okay, FanDuel GPP, Squirrel, Corbin or Garcia?
I'm kind of blanking on who Garcia could be. But Corbin Carroll's good, so I'll go with him.
Okay, very good. And Beaner, if you want to like clarify that question, we can get back to it because we certainly have the time today. FanDuel Cash 2v2. TJ, I'm coming to you for this one. Fortes and Wendell or Kemp Segura?
Oof. Kemp Segura, I guess.
Okay. TJ Moose Manzada says, hey, no Tampa stacks? I feel like one of you mentioned Tampa. TJ?
Yeah. We both actually. Yes, Tampa stacks. Tampa is my, I believe, like third highest owned stack. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you like it. You know I like a Tampa stack.
I think that question was Adolis Garcia. I still like Corbin Carroll better.
Very good. All right, excellent. Matt C says McKinstry, TJ, or Brujan, or Brujan, raw points.
I can't better than both, but I would go Brujan.
Okay, great. Milkman, DKGPP, Squirrel, McMahon and Sheets, or Hayes and Mikhail Garcia?
I'd go McMahon and Sheets.
I'd take my last one back. I didn't realize McKinstry was leading off, so I would go McKinstry over Brujan, but still like Kent better.
Okay, excellent. We are mostly caught up on questions, and we're just a couple of minutes from lock, so that is a job well done. If you got anything to ask it now or forever hold your peace, or probably till like tomorrow afternoon. We'll probably be back. You could wait till then as well. Let's see if we got anything that I missed. Here we go. K-Town's Finest says DK single entry Squirrel. What are your thoughts on Sears Garrett with Noda and Kemp? Am I drawn dead if I try that?
You're definitely not drawn dead unless it rains in Boston.
Oh, yeah. Then you are. And it may. I don't know. I wish I had a clear answer for you guys on that.
Tune in
I don't love
tomorrow's both crunch times because not only is it a big day because Roth and I are going to be on for two shows together, but they will be on the 29th of June. Those two shows will be my last two shows in my 20s.
Oh, yeah. You're going to be a big man, big 30-year-old.
Real adult now. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. You've been a baby this whole time. You're a real adult at 30. Yeah. Ooh, that's exciting. Well, I will have a beer with you. Maybe. Probably.
Let's do it on the morning show too. Let's have morning beers and then evening beers. Just
absolutely destroy our productivity through the entirety of the day. Yeah, I thought you meant like you were leaving for good or that you were going on a long vacation. Just
just before my midlife crisis. My my third life crisis.
Yeah, your 1/3 life crisis. I recommend those. They're good. I had one. Bates, FanDuel Cash, TJ, any love for Texas Duran?
Yes, I like Texas Duran.
Okay. Squirrel, FanDuel GPP, Seth Brown and Bo Bichette, or O'Hearn and Witt?
O'Hearn and Witt.
Yeah, you like that one. Here we go. Lil Tunchi, we hit the lock here, says Giolito and Rally, or Giolito Rally, or Sears Yandy. Anyone can. Sears Yandy. Okay. Very good. Monty says, if 30 was a midlife crisis, you won't want to experience your 40th. It's coming soon for your boy. So I'll let you know.
That's my secret, Monty. I'm always in crisis.
That's right. Yeah, I'm used to living in crisis, so we can make it happen. Chuck says, so Boston plays, but delays sometime possibly. I think that's perfectly said. The game is going to play. They might delay, possibly. That's as good as I've got for you. We're going to bounce on out of here. So for Squirrel, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.